Either leave now or you're gonna go in handcuffs.
You can't fucking detain me for shit.
Yes, I can. For trespassing. You're trespassing right now.
Hey, am I trespassing? No,
yes.
You wanted me to leave for the day.
You just said yes.
I want you to...
On September the 26th, 2022, at approximately 2:43 p.m., officers with the Columbus Division of Police were dispatched to a Mid-Ohio food bank location on a call about a man who was disrupting service and threatening to fight with the staff.
Caller, what's going on there?
Hello, we have a customer here who is threatening other customers and staff members. He's taking his shirt off already. He's trying to fight people. He's cussing at us. We want him to leave.
What's he look like?
He's white guy. He's got blonde hair, red shorts.
What color shirt is he wearing?
I don't remember. I think it's green. He's about 6'1", 6'2".
The officers arrived on scene, approached the male, told him he was no longer welcome at this location. They asked him for his identification, and he refused. Because of this, the man was placed under arrest and slated at the Franklin County Jail. This video has a bonus interaction towards the end, where a bystander decided to call 911 and make a false allegation against the officers. You can see for yourself, as the 911 call and the body camera are both available in this video. With all that being said, I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you learned something, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. You just went off the property?
Yeah, we went wrong.
Who is it that called you?
He's in this line right here.
Yeah.
He's right behind that pole.
Had a beard?
Yeah.
Yep.
Early blonde hair?
Okay.
Easy enough.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
He's supposed to leave.
Yep.
Is there an easy way to give you a few donations?
Hey, how you guys doing today? I know you're here for me. What's up?
Well, they want you to leave, so
They want me to leave. No, I never said that.
we're telling you now.
They clearly told me to calm down.
Okay. Well, they just told us that they want you to leave, so you have to leave, all right, ma'am?
Just go sit in the car with Rita.
All right, you want to go sit down?
They want you all the way off the property, actually. Maybe you can come back another day. I don't know, but maybe not today. All right.
Why? Because I voiced my opinion?
I don't know what you voiced, but they said that they want you to leave. That's
Because I voiced my opinion.
Come on, let's step. Why don't we step out here and not have a big scene with all these people?
Huh?
You want to step over here without all these people around? Make it a little bit easier.
Hey, Brady, wherever you went.
This way now, boy.
Right there. Come back.
Where's your car at? Let's go over there.
I'm going to my vehicle now.
Okay, that's just a question.
I'm going to fuck this fucking first. Hey, why do I got to leave because I calmed down? Because I'm allowed to voice my opinion.
You're not allowed to trip out on
I'm not allowed to
me.
voice my opinion.
You took your shirt off and threatened that dude.
No.
All right.
Actually, we're
We're
not going
done.
to have this
He said he was gonna
conversation.
knock
It
me out.
doesn't really matter whether they do or
And I don't
don't.
need you
It
to get up
doesn't
in my
matter.
face.
Well,
I'm allowed
then
to
you
voice
can
my
back up and
opinion.
you're not allowed to talk to him right now.
I'm allowed to talk to whoever I want.
Okay, you are to leave. All right? That's it.
But like I said, you wanted to come outside. You came
Sir,
outside.
are you
did. You
refusing
was
to
doing.
leave?
You did. No, I'm not fucking refusing, but I'm allowed to voice my opinion.
Okay.
You was doing 10 people at a time. 10 people at a time. 10 people at a time. And then you went back to the number system.
Listen.
Well, my problem was no.
Hey,
Well, my
you're making
problem
this a
was
bigger deal than
no,
it is.
we're
Calm
not-
down. Calm down.
Right now.
all these other people. All these other people.
Either leave now or you're going to go in handcuffs.
You can't fucking detain me for shit.
Yes, I can. For trespassing. You're
I'm
to leave right
trespassing.
now.
Hey, am I trespassing? No,
Yes.
you wanted me to leave for the day.
You just said yes.
I don't want you to come back.
They don't want you to come out again at all. Period.
You don't even know my name.
Yeah, I shouldn't.
Okay, but you don't.
You have to give us your information.
No, I do not have to give you my information. Yes, you do.
Sir?
No.
Now you do.
What is your name?
They just told me to get off the property. That's what I'm doing. So leave me the fuck alone.
That's right. And we'll let you leave. And we're not going to trespass you.
We're fucking following.
All right? They do want a trespassing report. So,
Yeah, I doubt it.
didn't ask for your opinion.
Yeah, you do.
that man would go leave.
No, listen to me.
How am I trespass?
Listen to me.
I did not sign no trespassing papers.
Listen to me.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works, okay?
Whatever.
We need your getting in the car.
Come on,
getting
don't
your
make this a
information.
bigger thing,
Don't
dude.
make this a bigger deal.
You're holding your
You're
kid.
making a
Okay.
big deal.
You're about to make it an even bigger deal because we're about to put you in handcuffs. You don't want to give us your information.
Fuck out.
No,
No.
you cannot. That way, get a report, have you leave, and carry on about our day. If you refuse to do that, you can go to jail for trespassing. It's up to you. You have a decision to make at this point in time. Are you willing to give him your information, yes or no? Yes or no?
We're not debating anything. I'm allowed to tell you what was said.
He's gathering your information. It doesn't matter.
You don't need my information because you're telling me to leave the fucking
So
property.
you're refusing.
No, I'm
to
not
give
refusing shit. I'm trying to get my
Do it right
leave
now.
and do what I'm trying to do.
Give him your information.
You're trying to abuse your authority and tell me that I have to get you my name.
It's not abuse of authority.
Yes, it is. My grandpa's a deputy motherfucking sheriff. I know the shit.
Your deputy's not good right now.
I need your name. Hey, can you record this shit?
Can you back up, please?
I'm trying to get it done.
That would work. And you do that. And then please back up.
I'm home, boy.
I got you.
Trying to make this a bigger deal.
Give us your info and that'll be that.
What's your name? So let me go to my fucking ID.
Turn around.
This is my name. All right, can I give you guys my name, please? Shit, really?
Now, we've asked and asked.
Hey, look, I'm trying. I'm just trying to figure out why
We're
they didn't
trying
me on the
to-
papers,
You're not
bro.
trying anything.
Yes, I am. I'm just trying to figure out why.
It's done. We've made a decision now.
All right, can I just get up? Yeah. Look,
No,
please.
you're not going anywhere
You
now.
had so many opportunities to do that.
Dude, I'm just trying to figure out the whole fucking thing.
Yeah, and we explained it to you several times.
Okay, they're locked. Whatever, dude. Had enough.
All right, can I get my old lady the keys?
We'll get them to her.
I don't know why you're trying to say that I got to get off the property today.
What you think?
Okay, you guys just showed up and told me to leave. That's what I was doing. Yeah. I was asking questions.
And I answered your questions and asked for your identification, which you refused to do.
You told me to give it to this guy. I'm sitting here trying to figure out why the fuck.
Did you give it to
I
him?
think I turned my mic on before I came back.
Spread your feet out.
We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. This is me saying hi to everybody and kind of warning Lenny that we're going live. Hope everyone's doing good. Let me check my audio settings because this is a professional grade live stream. Let me know, did my audio jump or anything when I first came on? I've got this I can never remember which setting to put. So we are going there. I think Lenny is ready. Lenny, what's up, buddy?
Ho, ho, ho.
I like it, man.
Holiday spirit, Christmas spirit, right?
This is technically our Christmas stream.
I think it is, yeah. Unfortunately.
I'm a little disappointed with myself, if I'm going to be honest. I thought, wouldn't you think that there'd be body camera footage out there of officers on Christmas Day, like arresting people and doing things with like,
think.
yeah, with like Christmas trees and lights and stuff? I couldn't find anything.
I think there's some feedback on your end, by the way. I can hear myself.
Oh, you know what?
Very
Usually
professional.
Super professional. I don't have my headphones in. Let me do this. I told you, man.
Hey, while he's doing that and being a professional, I was going to ask everybody, the video was a little choppy. Was it just me or was that everybody else? It could have been just my Iowa-powered internet. Anybody else notice that? It seemed like the audio was fine on that body cam video, but the video was kind of weird. Okay, Colin said the video was weird, so it must just be me.
He said it was good or it was fine. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Colin a minute ago said he's ready for some education. And I was like, be ready to be disappointed. When I come down, I look at the chat like before I go live, and I'm like, man, I'm about to let down so many people.
I had so many great things I wanted to say, and I thought about them all day, and then I started drinking, and they're gone now. So we'll just kind of wing it.
Yeah, I just got done with my workout. I'm still sweating a little bit. I might pass out.
I'll take over. Don't worry.
That's fine. I think
I got you.
You have control over everything, so you can just mute me and take over.
Can I? Let me try. Aha! I can mute him.
You know what else I was thinking about before we got started? I get home, have a snack, have my workout. I'm rushing around like mad, getting ready for the live stream. It's a little bit stressful, like working outside of work. You know what I mean? But once we get started, it's so relaxing, and I'm just like, I'm happy I get to hang out with my buddy. So how you doing, man?
How sweet.
Jeff Rowe, kicking it off the right way. Thank you, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
One of the most loyal supporters of the channels. He's awesome. Did you do anything fun today?
I'm trying to get like 4 weeks worth of content done in a couple days because I'm going on a trip, and then maybe have some court. So it's kind of a wild day, and then vacuuming. That's hardcore. So that was my workout today. It was a little vacuuming, a little laundry. It was good. Little Home Depot, Bed Bath and Beyond. I don't know if I'm gonna have time though.
Wow, you got money for all that?
No. I do now.
Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you, Brett.
You're awesome. You're always here. Appreciate it. I hope you're not spending your savings on us, though. To be honest, I'm kind of a pain in the ass about that stuff. Bad drivers of NorCal area. Do I know when CPD will move to the new Axon system and gone with the watch guard? It's already happened. So they've made a bunch of posts in the media about that. That's a funny thing. Did I talk to you about that, Lenny, about accountability and body cameras? How they're positioning them?
I think, did you do a video on it? I feel like we've had this conversation. It sounds familiar.
I think we talked about it on the podcast, maybe. It's like
you went on a rant at some point I remember this rant. Yeah.
It's a pet peeve of mine because when body cameras were rolled out, it was rolled out in the name of police accountability. We're going to hold our cops accountable. We're going to catch bad cops, yada, 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 yada. Actually, what happened when body cameras were rolled out is more cops were exonerated. I got to turn off the scroller. This might be a new record for me.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to see how long it was going to go. It's my new game.
Sometimes it goes for like an hour. That's what she said. Not really. Not me. Not my experience. No. But when body cameras rolled out, more internal affairs complaints were exonerated than ever before. And then you get these politicians that are like, oh, we're rolling out new body cameras, new technology, more accountability. No, all you're doing is like a normal technology upgrade, and you're trying to convince the public that you're doing something special, and it's not. You know what I mean? It's like,
can I make a Super Troopers reference here?
Please do.
We're already accountable. We can't be accountable any further.
I can't be any more accountable. That's funny. That's a good reference. But it's kind of like when they discontinued the Crown Vics, and then the city comes out and is like,
come on, man, too soon. Why would you say
too soon?
Like
it's
that?
Been 10 years. When was the last Crown Vic?
2011. Yeah. Although I think they made them in 12, but they were not distributed here, if I recall correctly.
My department is so what's the word I'm looking for? Tactical and up with the times and like prepared for the future, that when the Crown Vic was discontinued, they literally had no idea what they were going to do. And there was some guy out in California that saw it coming and bought a bunch and put them in a barn somewhere. So they bought them from him for like twice market value. So we went another year. So in like 2013, we were driving brand new 2011 Crown Vics.
That doesn't sound so bad.
No, it wasn't a bit, but they had been sitting in a barn for like 2 years. And when you do that with cars, issues arise. Yeah, issues arise.
was trying to think. There was something else, some other BS I was going to talk to you about. I don't remember. See, Ben, I warned you about the. Well, Pink Mosquito. The problem is, I'm trying to focus on the camera and Lenny because he's beautiful, and I don't always see the chat, so I just catch the highlights. But thank you for trying. And Bronx 47, thank you very much.
Thanks,
also,
Bronx 47.
How much pre-gaming did you do?
Not much. May have a shot of I can't even pronounce it. It's like a Colombian drink. Can't pronounce it. It was good. And then I had I kind of like the Cayman Jack margaritas. Don't judge me. May had one of those with dinner. Now I'm ready to go.
I don't drink any of that stuff.
Because you're a man, and a man drinks whiskey.
Straight from the bottle.
Oh, you're going bottle like me, huh?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to drink it from the bottle.
Oh, you're going to
got
use
a glass.
All right. Look at that bougie glass right there.
It's proper. Blueberry, thank you very much. We'd say littering, and drinking apple juice. Excellent. He said he was drinking Basil Hayden's earlier tonight. I wanted to warn you guys that I'm going to be playing with my mustache a lot tonight. I forgot to trim it, and I've got some stragglers, and they're either poking me in the lip or they'll poke me in the nose.
Mustache ride.
Yeah. Hey, I should offer that as like a premium membership. What do you think? $100 a month
and just pictures of your mustache.
I don't think pictures would do it.
I don't know, like posing with Crown Vics or I don't know, whatever, man. I believe in you.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have that stuff. Have you heard of William Darby? I have not. I think it's everything.
Oh, we've heard of William Darby.
Who is he? Oh, is that that's that guy.
That's Huntsville, right?
Yeah, I'm bad with names. You know, that is another one. When
we should make that the one we do when we come back in January.
That's fine. We can cover that for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a long talk. The main video for tonight is the one out of Virginia Beach. And I went ahead and did a special edit after watching. The funny thing is I had watched this video. We had talked about the video before Donut put his video out. We were planning on doing it tonight. Then Donut put his out, and he did some interesting editing with the sound to try to make the YouTube censors happy. So I downloaded the video, did a special edit of it. We'll see how this stream goes when we play the video. I'm going to do the same thing with that Darby video. Maybe that'll work, and that way we can show it, because it's one of the reasons I've been reluctant to show it or do a discussion on it, just because putting out videos that get age restricted murder your channel traffic. So, but it's an important video to talk about, right?
It is. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. In fact, I've talked about it a little bit on my podcast over the last 6 months or whatever. It's come up a couple times.
Oh shit. Pink Mosquito, thank you so much. And yeah, did you see this? He's the one that asked if we knew who he was.
Well, if you come back in January, we'll talk about it before you go to your academy. And I'd love to talk about it more now, but we have all this other stuff lined up, and I want to make sure we do that justice and not rush through this stuff too.
Yeah, and I want to put the edits on there so that I don't put a live stream up that gets age restricted and nobody can ever watch it again. But good luck with that process, man. I think he follows me on Facebook too. I think the picture looks familiar. Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to kind of warm up with the video that we started playing before. One of the reasons is because of the comments on the video. And this is one of those videos that I kind of clickbaited. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. I don't know if you pay too much attention to like my YouTube, my titling and my thumbnailing and stuff, but I try really hard to make the videos entertaining and educational and appealing to people without going complete clickbait. And sometimes I think I should, because more eyeballs is better almost regardless of how you get them.
Yeah, it's a tough debate, right? But it works because everybody else does it, right? And everybody for years has been doing those same thumbnails of acting surprised in the thumbnail, right? Which those drive me nuts. But I mean, it's like the same shit the media does, and I'm not saying it in the same level that you are doing it, but how does the media get you to read an article? A total bullshit headline, right? Now, your headline wasn't total bullshit. It was kind of true, right?
Yeah. On this one, it's 100% true. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Not really.
Is it a little clickbaity? Yeah, sure, yeah. But it's not that bad.
But I knew that it was going to draw a crowd of people that get so triggered when they hear a cop asking for ID and they're like, no, fuck you, I know my rights, blah, blah, blah. Well, here's a situation where it might be a little bit different. And I don't know how much to play now. Yeah, I saw that. Thank you, Ohio Patriot. I'm trying to keep it going a little bit.
I got it. You keep talking. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right. So this is a situation everyone's already seen the video and has already seen the beginning of the video, but officers were dispatched here because there was a guy, this is a food bank, he was waiting in line, he was frustrated, he's taking off his shirt and telling people to fight him, so the officers were there. The staff said, hey, we don't want this guy here, can you make him leave? Ultimately, he refused to give his identification so they could take a report, and they placed him under arrest. That is what's got people all goofed up. And they're saying, you have to have a crime to ask for someone's ID, all this other stuff. The problem is they completely overlooked the multiple crimes that occurred. That's my perspective on it, and that's what I wanted to kind of go over. Do we need to play the video again, or do you think everybody has already seen the video and kind of talk about it?
I would assume that people have seen it. I guess we can give the people a second. I'm curious why people give us a second if they want to hear it or not. Just for clarification, is there a law in Idaho? Is there a law in Ohio that states that you have to give an ID to an officer kind of thing? Because in Colorado there was, but it was with traffic stuff. And then basically if they had reasonable suspicion, you were involved in a crime. Yeah. But there was like a weird, here's a fun fact. I think there was weird wording in the law, and I don't know if it ever got cleared up, but in Colorado, you just had to identify yourself, like give them your name. And there was something weird where you didn't have to give a birthday or something. I think they cleared that up at some point. But those were the only reasons. You can't just ID somebody to ID them, right? Is that the same in Ohio? No,
it's the same way. You have to, they have to be suspected of have committed a crime. That's basically it, right? You can't just walk up to any random person on the sidewalk and say, hey, give me your ID. You have to have a criminal offense. And in this case, I watched it again before we came down, and I saw a bunch. There's the fact that they called because he was taking off his shirt and threatening to fight people and all that other stuff. And then people were saying, well, in order to arrest someone for trespassing, you have to warn them first, which isn't true. But they warned this guy in the video. Did you catch it when you watched it? When they actually warned him?
Well, yeah, they told him. They told him, hey, they want you trespassing here. You can't be here.
Yeah, I turned the sound down. It's right here. Here. So I'll turn the sound back up. I just want to make sure that definitively everybody understands, because there's a lot of people that are upset about this. Oh yeah, so initially what they did is they said, hey, let's go over by your vehicle and talk. And what he does is he approaches the manager of the food bank rather than going to his car to talk to him. So up until this point, they haven't threatened him with arrest, they haven't threatened him with force, they haven't done anything. They're just like, hey, let's go over here.
Actually, we're not going to have this conversation. It doesn't really matter whether they do or don't. It doesn't matter. Well, then you can back up and you're not allowed to talk to him right now.
I'm allowed to talk to whoever I want.
Okay, you are to leave. All right? That's it.
But like I said, you wanted to come outside.
See, in my opinion, like legally speaking, they just asked him to leave and he's standing there arguing, he's refusing to leave. That's trespassing, right?
Yes. Now, well, look, I'm skipping a little bit ahead. I have an opinion on this. I'm not saying they were wrong.
Oh, I have
I
opinions
think-
as well, but I'm talking about legally.
Legally,
technically.
yeah, legally
Yeah.
they're fine. Legally they're fine. Me just watching this and just giving, I guess, what I would consider constructive criticism, and I want to use caution. I wasn't there. I don't know everything. We don't know everything that was said. We don't know the call. We don't know all of that, right? And we're gonna throughout these live streams, we're gonna critique cops, right? It's not to be a dick. It's just hopefully we can learn a little something from it, or maybe exchange some ideas on some stuff. But my critique of this one in particular is, the way they were articulating it to the guy was, we need your name for the trespass notice. I'm not saying the guy would have changed his mind at all if they would have said, like, here's the deal, dude. You're going to get trespass from here. And, look, we have probable or reasonable suspicion you were involved in these crimes, so we can't ID you. I don't know if that would have changed the guy's mind or not. Just some constructive criticism. That's kind of my piece on it. I have thoughts on chasing people down just to give them trespass notices if you're not going to charge them with a crime, because I see some concerns potentially with that, depending on what kind of crime you have. Can I tell a brief story?
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
So we had some places in the town I worked frequently called about trespassers. And the only crime we really had was trespassing generally, but they wouldn't want the people charged, but they would want them issued trespass notices, right? And guys would, force people to give ID and stuff. And yes, you have reasonable suspicion that a crime has occurred, but how far are you going to push that? Because if you end up getting in a tussle with a dude over the ID thing, and you don't really have somebody that wants to report a crime, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't force the issue there generally.
No, there's, what? I have an even better video on the channel that's like a better example of that, where it was actually in Ohio. It's called aggravated menacing. I don't know what you guys called it in Colorado, but it was a neighbor dispute. One neighbor was threatening to sick his dogs and shoot his neighbors over trash. And the officers went out, talked to the neighbors. They had a bunch of witnesses. They go back and they talk to the suspect. He's telling them to go F themselves. He's not going to give them any information, all that kind of stuff. The officers were being really nice to the guy. You know what I mean? Because they were like, look, we don't want to arrest you. We don't think that this is ever even going to turn into charges. But we're required to take a report, and you're required to give us your information. And he's just being a blowhard and all this other stuff. The officer went and he ran all of the license plates of all the cars in the area. He did an address search on our CAD system to look up previous calls to that address, see if any reports had been taken. He went to our mugshot system, typed in the address. What else did he do? Went into the actual reporting system, typed in the address. And I think he even put in physical descriptors of the guy because he had face tattoos. He had eyebrow tattoos. He could not figure out who this guy was. At the end of the day, he ended up just walking away from it because his perspective was, you know what? This isn't going to go anywhere. I'm not going to get in this big use of force with a guy for failing to give me his ID, even though I could arrest him right now if I wanted to. Like, you know what I mean? And it was a clear-cut example of, he had every right in the world to go after the guy, but he just didn't want to, because if you have a big use of force and you end up breaking someone's arm, and it's like, why'd you break his arm? Well, he failed to give me his ID on a sketchy threat report. You know what I mean?
I'm right there. I agree with that. Sometimes
that was kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah, sometimes it is the principle of the matter, and sometimes you do have to push it, but then what is it worth? What are we doing here? Discretion is a powerful thing,
Yeah. And I would say, because I was thinking about this earlier, it's one of those things. They have probable cause to arrest in this case. They have legal justification to demand his ID because there's multiple crimes that have occurred. If it was me personally, especially because as soon as they put their hands on the guy, he magically had his ID now. He's like, oh, I have my ID. And they found it on him when they did a search. I probably would have cuffed him up, put him in the car, wrote out his charge, handed him a court date, and released him. They didn't end up doing this. It's a really busy part of town. I don't want to get tied up on an arrest for like some bullshit. So I probably wouldn't have slayed him. It doesn't mean that they were wrong. They were legally justified to do it. And that's kind of what this whole debate is about. You know, were they legally justified? Yes. Did they violate his rights? No. Is it something that when these guys have a couple more years on the street that they're going to do? Probably not. Right? I mean,
well, that's one of you kind of have to learn through these things, and maybe people feel it's, you know, unfortunate for this guy that doesn't know how to act, but in reality, he doesn't know how to act, and the cops were well within their rights to do what they did. So, I don't know. I don't know why I don't want to say we, because we don't, but I don't know why society encourages this. Like, I get it, right? Like, they don't tread on me, but all right, I get that, right? I hate the government like every red-blooded American, but can we just like, I love that take a chill pill thing you've been saying. I love it.
drink a glass, chill the fuck up.
It's just calm down a second, take a deep breath. Because like realistically, if this dude, I don't know, didn't start a fight at the food bank and would have talked to the cops, it's like a non-issue, you know. So he didn't help himself along the way. Like, we don't have to fight everything that happens just to prove a point. And generally, you're wrong.
Well, and there's this whole like world out there of people who like to call themselves auditors, you know, that they think that they can just go places, be a complete asshole, and then be completely immune to consequences. Yeah. And they're the people that were out there saying, oh, those cops were wrong. They were being bullies. Like, they didn't have any right. If he knew his rights, blah, blah, blah. No. And in the mood that they were in, they were legally justified to do what they did. If he would have put up a fight, he would have gotten stomped, you know, and it would have been completely justified. And I don't know why people are encouraging that kind of behavior. It's frustrating. And it's not just like you're treating the cops that way, but you're treating your fellow citizens that way too.
I think we have a guy in the comments here, Mr. King.
So you don't have to, if people don't listen to these
I think
idiots.
He's saying that there's some rights being violated right now. It's called a freedom. Dude, you don't have a freedom to be a jerk at the food bank, okay, man? You don't. Like, that's not in the Constitution.
I don't know if Sam was paying attention the rest of the time. He might be one of those people who doesn't pay attention and just speaks instead of listens.
Hi, Sam.
Yeah. I was looking back to see his earlier comments, and I don't see him. But you're wrong. If you've committed a crime, you have to provide your ID. We've already verified multiple times. So that's the end of that. Anyway, are you ready for the main show?
I've been ready my whole life.
You know what? I should pull up. Let's see. How do I do this? Got the video queued up, and I had to rip this off the internet a little bit differently. I want to read the description that was on the actual video. Let me find it here. Do you remember? Stop sharing. There we go. Did you look it up at all?
What am I looking for?
The details around this shooting.
I read it in a news article. Prior.
That's more than I did. I just looked at the description on police activity.
Don't quote me on this, folks, but this is what I read in the news article. The car that this officer finds is stolen or reported stolen, and apparently had been involved in a high-speed pursuit the day before. What else was there? There was something interesting. So that was kind of like the base information is the car is stolen, and I don't know if the officer had this information. I gotta just throw this out here, and it's not related to the video at all, but some of these places in the South are wild because the one of the suspects in this gave an interview from the jail.
I saw that.
I've never heard of such a thing except in the South. It's wild. I thought that was kind of entertaining. It was funny though because the news went back and put a whole thing in like, oh, by the way, all the stuff she said, if you watch the video, is false. Which I'm like, that's amazing that the news actually
did that.
Maybe the tides are changing. I don't know.
I don't know. Kind of depends on where you're at. They are a little bit. I can verify that the media is starting to turn on, at least on a local level where I am, starting to turn. We're starting to see some good things happening. So anyway, so this occurred on December the 1st, 2022. Let's see. And they're saying that this is a license plate reader hit, which isn't uncommon. When you start watching the video, there's no sound for the first, I want to say 90 seconds. I don't want to get into, there's some false information about why there's like a look back or whatever. Agencies actually have the power to adjust that look back period. Where I work, if I turn on my camera, there's a 2-minute look back with sound. That was something that was changed recently. So every agency kind of sets their own thing. It's not like an industry standard. But when you start watching, there's no sound. So we don't know if he immediately called for backup, aired his location, anything like that. Although from watching the video and listening to the dispatcher trying to figure out what's going on, it sounds to me like he was driving along, got a hit on his license plate reader, and approached the car without letting the dispatcher know where he is at. Does that sound accurate to you?
I trust you on this one. I hadn't read that anymore. Hey, you disappeared. Did he leave? Do I got to do this live stream by myself?
I had to blow my nose,
man. I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for the big leagues.
So you didn't hear about the license plate reader part?
I did not hear that.
Yeah, that, and it says it in the description of the police activity video. It says Virginia Beach police officer received an automated license plate reader hit on a stolen vehicle. The officer initiated a stop on in the parking lot of whatever road. The officer attempted to detain the guy, and then he goes ahead and gives a play-by-play of what happened. But that's something that we both noticed, is that maybe he wasn't. You said that he went in without cover. I think that he didn't quite air his location. Yeah,
and I wasn't sure what happened in the 90 seconds of silence. But that, like, we'll get it way in more into this. I kind of think we should watch it and then we can kind of go over it. But I know there's cops and non-cops listening to it, and I know that I've probably done some cavalier stuff that I probably shouldn't have done as a cop. I think we probably all have. But when it comes to stolen cars, you gotta air it out, and you probably should have somebody with you when you make contact, especially with two people being in the car. That was kind of my big thing watching this, is why are we doing this by ourselves kind of thing. I know some agencies you don't have backup and you got to do what you got to do, but I assume that this is a decently sized agency.
Yeah, I mean, although I've heard some interesting things about Virginia Beach Police Department over the years, some of their training standards and their seasonal help. They have a whole law about hiring seasonal help. Have you ever heard about this?
No.
Basically, it's like a 2 or 3 week course, and they put them out there, like the guys that patrol the beach and stuff. There's something really hanky about it. Yeah. So the way the video started off, he was in the way in the back of the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that he drove through this parking lot, got the LPR hit, looked at his computer, verified what car it was, and was sitting there watching it for a second, right? Because he drove way around the parking lot and pulled right up to that car. So it gives me a little bit of, I guess it gives a little bit of credence to your point that, look, wait for backup on a situation like this, right? Like, he had time, unless he saw them getting out of the car and he's like, oh shit, they're getting out of the car. I need to step it up. And it could have, we don't know the, everything that was going on at the time either. The radio could have been blowing up, there could have been,
and that's completely fair too. Yeah.
Yeah. There could have been something going on somewhere. I mean, I've been in that situation where I'm just like, fuck, and you're in the middle of something, and then next thing you know, the air clears and you grab your mic and you're talking, and there's just screaming and chaos in the background, and everybody freaks out and is trying to get to you. It could have been like that, but also at the end of the day, a stolen car is not worth going through what he went through in this case. And
it could be, like, to be fair, it could have been a lot of things, right? Like, maybe he didn't see it when he was sitting there and he was like, oh, whatever. Maybe it got passed. And then he was like, oh, shoot, there it is. And because things just happen right in front of you sometimes. And it just, what do you do, right? You have to make a judgment call, what I'm going to do about it. You know, if he just snuck up on it. I got into a pursuit once where I would have waited to start chasing him until I had more cars. He made eye contact with me and started going before I even turned around. So I had to hit the lights so I could get up to him. Mm-hmm. There's just things happen sometimes. Tim, thank you. And I will try it as soon as it's in a state near me.
I'll have to look and see if we have that here. I don't drink a lot of beer lately. I drink a lot of whiskey. I should have warned the viewers too, before we started this, that, we are probably going to have a much different take on this video than I think a lot of other people do because of the lens that we see things through. Like when I announced that we were going to be covering this, I saw a lot of comments like, oh, that guy was a badass, blah, blah, blah. Some of the questions, like when my friend sent it to me, she said, do you think this officer was lucky or good? And I was like, I don't know. The first time I watched it, all I saw was this angle with the cruiser camera. I was like, okay, you know, I was like, good job. And then when I watched the actual body camera, I had slightly different opinion. To be honest, I guess we'll answer that question in a little bit, whether or not he was lucky or good. I'm still undecided. And then one of the other questions that she asked, and I think these are all good points, is, you know, it raises the question of when it's okay for a civilian to intervene and help an officer that is struggling with somebody. And I don't know. We'll get there. We'll address that when we get to that point.
Me and you might even disagree on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Let's continue on here. So he's approaching the car. The driver's already out, and he's gonna.
And there was a third passenger. I think it's this guy walking out right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he's just, peace, I'm out. See, and if the guy knew he was really relaxed for it being a stolen car, right?
Yeah. When you see the body camera, there's a little bit more detail. The audio is going to kick on for a second. So I'll say, because like when I watched this initially, I was like, okay, he went up and he tried to grab the kid. He was probably a little bit in the OODA loop because he sees the passenger over there, so he's distracted. Tries to grab the kid. Kid squeaks out of his grip. It's going to happen sometimes. Takes off running. He decides, you know what? Catching one of two people is better than letting two people go away. And he knew he was not going to catch that dude. Like, that officer is not catching that dude that took off, right? I mean, that's just not going to happen. So he goes and he grabs the fat chick. And I was like, okay, good job. So
Pleasantly plump.
What's your location?
Yeah, so here we are. We're 90 seconds in, and they're asking, what's your location? They can hear him screaming on the radio.
Yeah, tell us which radio person that is. We're getting.
Oh, God. There's my fancy editing.
I knew it was coming.
That's what she said. Just waiting for this to switch over to the body camera so we can talk about it.
We probably dispatch. Pull that radio and tell us what unit it is.
326 Foxtrot showing in front of Allstate.
Newtown Road. It looks like 649 Newtown Road.
Notice the supervisor had to get on before dispatch aired that. Dispatch should have aired that immediately. They figured out where he was.
I think that the dispatcher had to use his GPS location to say where he was, because she said it looks like he's in front of this location. I don't think he actually aired it.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that a supervisor had to get on. And
yeah.
I think so. Like, I don't know. I'm not, again, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking, right? But I would just hope if I was in a fight somewhere and once somebody had an idea where I was, they would air it rather than somebody having to ask it. I'm just critiquing here.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being a dick.
Well, and there's a lot of times too where something will happen and everybody's jumping on the air saying a bunch of bullshit. And I'm very well known for grabbing the mic and yelling into it. And I'll be very clear. I'm like, where is the officer? You know, like everything that you're saying, you need to shut the fuck up. Like, we need to get to this officer. I need to know where he is right now. Everyone else needs to shut up. And they got that taken care of. We'll get to the body camera in a second. What did you think when you saw this part of the video?
You know, it's tough because, you know, at this part we're at the distance, right? You have a single officer fighting somebody, which we'll find out fighting somebody with a gun, so that adds a little more to it. In a perfect world, yeah, you would hope for more control on this person and things like that.
I'm talking about from this angle.
Oh, from this angle?
Yeah, because we'll get to the other stuff in greater detail.
Like, I don't know. I mean,
look,
watching from this angle, I mean, there was good self-awareness, right, where he was paying attention to his surroundings, which is another reason. Like, he knows maybe two people ran off. He knows for sure one person does, and so he's fighting with her, worried about the gun, and now he has to be worried about, well, shit, where's this dude at? And so, to jump ahead again, I wonder if maybe that's part of the reason the fight was a little more of a struggle, is because his attention was. What's the word? My attention is gone, but his attention was divided.
Yeah. And that was pretty much in line with what I saw. Like, my initial reaction the very first time I watched it, I was like, okay, you know, squirrely, skinny young dude gets loose. He decides to go for the other guy, like, okay, or the chick, you know, that's fine. Then he's over there wrestling with her, struggling with her. I don't know what's going through his head. I don't know what's happening in that fight, but he had the wherewithal and presence of mind to kind of put one hand on her and look up, post up. Like, that's what we're trained to do. You know, like when you've got one on the ground and you've got multiple people around you, that person needs to eat some pavement, and you need to be ready to transition if you need to transition, like address a threat if it comes. Fantastic. Is my first thought, you know, and the fact that he's fighting with somebody physically, he's able to draw his weapon and get rounds off that quickly, is incredible. And he hit the guy. I mean, like, he's on top of almost like a Bosa ball, you know, like a medicine ball, like moving around. Is able to. I didn't see the comment.
I was laughing at the ball. That was great.
Oh, okay. But realistically, he's on top of a person and he's able to draw his weapon and shoot and hit the target.
It's impressive.
That was good. That was very good. So in this video, there is some very good and some very bad. I think that's a fair statement, right?
Yep.
And so far, from the 20,000 foot view, and I think this is the view that most of the non-cops are watching it, especially the first time. Great job by this officer staying alive. I mean, he went home at the end of the day, and the people that meant to do him harm did not. So that was fantastic. By the way, Saul, thank you very much. Really appreciate your patronage.
Better call Saul.
Hey, Mike, I'm glad that you were able to make it. So now we're going to transition to the body camera any moment now. And this part's a little weird to me. These are firefighters that showed up, right? And they're
I'm
like,
assuming the firefighters were there to save a cat from a tree and just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
they had to
Were
have
there
just
a
been
bowling
there.
tournament in the parking lot somewhere?
Well, they're not dressed for a bowling tournament, but I don't know. They were just there because they couldn't have responded that quickly. That's impossible.
Cook-off. There could have been a chili cook-off. Do they do those in Virginia Beach?
I'm sure they do in Virginia Beach. I wonder what kind of chili they make. Do they do sweet or spicy?
In the South, probably spicy and sweet.
Virginia. I don't know. I'll have to find out. If anyone in the comments or in the chat is from Virginia, let us know how you guys like your chili. Beans or no beans?
Oh, you can't have chili without beans.
I don't like beans. As I get older, I'm more tolerant of them. Am I wrong? But did you notice how they ran over to the guy that got shot? And
Let's
there's no.
watch that again because I don't recall exactly. What
They're coming here in a second. So they're with the officer and they're pointing. Oh my God, that guy over there was shot. We need to go give him aid. And they do, and that's fine. But there's one officer there, and the dude had a gun. He got blasted. He had a gun. Where I'm from, we don't let the firefighters go near the guy with the gun until the officer's taking care of that situation. You know?
My 2 cents on that is if they knew what they were getting into and they chose to do it anyway, to help out this cop, I'm good with it, and fucking cheers to you guys. I joke on the firefighters and all, but there's been plenty of times where they've helped us out a ton. And, they all have time to work out and stuff. So usually, they can put up a fight. Yeah, I agree. I've seen a lot of comments about not liking fire department walk up. I completely agree. Ideally, no, I wouldn't want them to do that. But if you're like, hey, stay back, this dude has a gun, and they go up anyway to try and help you out, I mean, I would just buy a beer for him, you know what I mean? But it's not safe because the guy, I mean, people get shot all the time and don't die. All the time. We know that. So the guy's still dangerous.
And it's one of those things, too, where we make fun of the firefighters. And I've been frustrated with them as well, with their response time on critical incidents like this. Because at least the guys where I work, their SOP is that they have to stop and put on body armor when they respond to a shooting, which is annoying. Because we always get there and make the scene safe anyway. And then we're airing like, hey, get the medic in here. This guy's dying. And it takes them an extra 2 minutes. And 2 minutes is a long period of time when someone's dying. And then they get there and they run in, they do their thing. We'll make fun of them and we'll pick on them and we'll be frustrated with them in situations like that. But at the same time, in this situation where that guy has a gun, now obviously that officer, it's a critical incident. His mind is freaking spinning 1,000 miles an hour. God knows what he just went through. I probably wouldn't have the wherewithal. I do now as an outsider watching a YouTube video, not the officer that's on scene. But my reaction would be like, guys, it's not safe. Don't go over there. That's just I'm perfect. I'm perfect because I'm watching this on YouTube. I wasn't there. That's my, you know what I mean? So here is the body camera. I don't know if we have the same 90 seconds.
I don't think it was. I think it was only 30 on this.
Yeah. Oh, I want to go back.
Yeah, the video skipped for some reason. I don't know why.
I wonder if I did it. Like in my editing.
go all the way back, or
What
not
the
all the way
heck?
back, but to where, about there. Start from there.
It is.
Big comment there, Eclipse.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Handcuffs out before control.
That was one of the big
First,
things I
kid.
wanted to show. We'll see. I might have messed it up when I edited it. Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Huge mistake that could have cost him his life. Right?
Yeah. All the
I
time.
mean,
yeah.
yeah.
And I feel like I see this a lot in a lot of agencies where There's no control. And like, I don't know what other people do, right? I know the system I was taught is a lot different than what people do in a lot of agencies, but I'm of the opinion, have some control before you try and put this weapon on people. Because if you get one hand on and then you lose control. Now you got this thing to swing at you, It's not good.
Yeah, I wish I had my gun belt down here with my cuffs, but there's so much to this right here. Like, first of all, I don't know if I can just incrementally take this back, but right here, the guy is in the door frame. We're trained to use that door frame to our advantage. Grab onto him and mash him into that door frame. Don't let him move. And another thing that I will do is whatever arm is closest to me, I will grab it with both hands. I don't just grab it with one hand. I will grab it with both hands. When you have someone's arm with both hands, you can maneuver their body. And like I tell people, grab him like a man. Make sure that he knows that you are holding on to him and that he is not fucking going anywhere, right? This is a very serious situation. Instead, he's just like, I don't have anything, but he's just like got his cuffs in one hand and no.
Can I take it a step back?
Yeah.
It's a stolen car. Do you not do a felony stop on a stolen car? I know at my agency, there were some salty ass dudes that wouldn't, because their experience with the stolen cars is this bullshit, right? Like, it's usually a crack rental or whatever. I always just played it safe. Stolen car is, I'm going to do a felony stop on that 100% of the time, unless there is some kind of extenuating circumstance, right? But for the most part, stolen car, you do a felony stop on it. Am I off base for that?
No, you're right. I would say maybe he could see the writing on the wall that they were all going to get out of the car and run. So he was trying to get up on them.
Maybe.
Which I understand the logic. At the end of the day, it's a stolen car. Getting the car back to the owner, like in 2022, right? It's not 2015 anymore. Getting a car back to the owner in one piece is probably the most important part. That's beginning to be my perspective, because these guys aren't going to get any time. The victim, generally, once they get their car back, they're no longer going to want to follow through with charges. It's all going to get dismissed, right? So if they run, they run. It's not the end of the world. It's not worth risking your life over, which is 100% what he did. Now, the flip side of it is that you go on these runs all the freaking time. I walked up to a stolen car with a cup of coffee in my hand recently. And it was honestly, it was because I didn't believe the car was stolen, but I did. And then when the person basically admitted that they were in a stolen car, I put my coffee down. I took him into custody. But you do get kind of lulled into this false sense of security, false sense of, there's nothing bad is going to happen. I've done this 10,000 times and I know what I'm doing. But this is the 1 out of 10,000 that it's going to go bad. And that's the reason that we're trained to do things a certain way. And he's not doing things that way, right? I mean, that's fair.
Yeah. And again, we use our experience. Sometimes we get lulled into complacency, right? It's, again, we're Monday morning quarterbacking the shit out of it, right? And I'm not, honestly, yeah, are we pointing out some things that he did wrong? Yeah, we are. Or in our opinion, he did wrong. But at the end of the day, it was a hell of a shooting. And can I say shooting or am I getting in trouble? It was a hell of a phone call. And it was, he went home, right? So we can use this and learn from it. And hopefully explain to the public too, maybe the non-cops out here, some of this stuff. Holy cow.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
I can't pronounce his name or her name, their name. Can you do it? Chaos? Kasu?
Kasu? I would go with Kasu.
It's embarrassing. Yeah. You donated money to two stupid people that can't read.
Thank you very much.
But thank you so much. That this is going into Christmas. That's going to help out.
Thank you.
You're very generous. Thank you very much. I think that was my thinking why I wanted to make sure we talked about what we saw from the beginning, from the distance, and how what he did was really spectacular. His ability to multitask and see what was going on in the world around him, and react to the situation that he found himself was fantastic. He went home at the end of the day, and that's the most important thing. But we're talking about how officers should be doing it and how they should be trained to do it, and trying to educate the public on how officers should be doing it. And this guy did a lot of things that he shouldn't have done. And he very nearly lost his life because of it. And I think that's very serious, and it needs to be pointed out. It needs to be critiqued. The other thing is, I mean, I make mistakes on the job all the time. I know that you make mistakes on the job. He is probably having a hard time dealing with this as well.
Yeah. And that's what makes that's like the hard thing for me doing these. Cause Ben knows, but I overthink some things. And I think a lot of people join me with that, but I don't want to do this guy dirty. Right. And like, I made a lot of jokes last week about the Cleveland guy for shooting his partner in the back, which shouldn't have shot your partner in the back, buddy. He didn't get in any departmental trouble, but like, here we are sitting in our ivory thrones critiquing these things. And so I'm a little cautious to do that because I don't want to shit on these people. But I think, I'm glad, he's okay. I'm glad, I'm not going to say what I was about to say. I'm glad he's okay though. And it's good to talk about these things. And I know for me, whenever I went on a call and I like to be critiqued, and I think maybe it annoyed some partners because they're like, dude, it was fine. What are you talking about? Because I just wanted to do things better. And that's just me. And I know there's been plenty of calls that I totally screwed up. I can tell you, I've probably started a call like this and, it didn't turn into what it turned into, but I was careless and it could have. Like, this could have happened to any one of us. And so I think it is important to talk about these things, but also to try and be respectful. But I'm going to make jokes, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I can tell you about a really bad one I screwed up last summer, but I want to continue this. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah. But here we're going back to him walking up to the car. We'll kind of go from there. I agree with you there, Blue Bear. So there's the expert transition. You realize you're not going to catch the one, so you go for the slow one.
Gamer move.
What's that?
Pro gamer move.
Yes, absolutely. So here is where I'm going to start having some very serious critiques. The police activity did an excellent job of editing this video and highlighting some very pertinent facts. So he had a guy that took off, dropped a bag. Turned out there was a gun in that bag that was almost used against the officer. Now the officer is on the ground fighting with this, as Donut said, did they call it like a hippopotamus, something like that?
I actually didn't see his video of this. I saw the trailer one. I haven't seen this.
He made a lot of fat jokes about her. It was funny. Donut is hilarious. I'll give him that.
Dude, when he is on his game, you can't beat that.
I think he's getting back in the zone because he posted another video today, and a short, which
good.
YouTube things.
I love classic Donut.
Yeah, but so you're on the ground. You got this other suspect. She's going for a gun. It's clear as day, and he starts yelling at her about the gun. His decision making for the next few moments is questionable, in my opinion. Do you have anything to add before I hit play?
No.
All right, so control the hand that's near the gun. That's a good thing. Okay, so there's the gun. He's controlling. Okay. That was kind of weird. So he's got one hand on her gun hand, and he draws his gun. That's not horrible.
I will shoot you. No. Stay in your car. Don't fucking move. I'll shoot you.
Did you see the transition? He took his hand off of her hand and put it on her back. So now he's got one hand on her back, one hand on his gun. Both of her hands are free, and she's got a gun right here. I have a very serious problem with that.
I kind of want to let everything play out before I give my opinion on it, because my opinion is kind of a broad opinion on this.
All right.
Help me handcuff her. Help me handcuff.
She's going for it.
Don't reach for that fucking gun.
But if you watch the jail interview, she was not.
No. Let go of the fucking
I only
gun.
saw what Donut posted.
Let go of the gun. Let go of the fucking gun. Let go. Gun.
Phone call.
Shots fired. Shots fired. Put the gun down.
That was really happened so fast.
You move, I will shoot you. No. Stay in your car. Don't fucking move. I'll shoot you. Help me handcuff her. Help me handcuff her. Don't reach for that fucking gun. Relax. No. Let go of the fucking gun. Let go of the gun. Let go of the fucking gun.
I mean, just
That was fast.
Let go. Gun.
It happened so fast that I missed it and I replayed it like 3 times. So, Becky, thank you very much. It's really nice of you.
Thank you, Becky.
We really appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and give me your take?
Here's my thing. I'm not going to shit on him too much for like what happened back there. It was a fucked up couple minutes, to say the least, right? You know, you go from like, all right, he ran, whatever, to like, all right, I'm going to just tackle, you know, the hippopotamus or land whale or whatever you want to call her. And then all of a sudden, oh shit, she's got a gun. Oh shit, she's reaching for it. And then everything else is, all right, well, there's people I got to watch for. There's this and that. You know, I think he was probably debating shooting her. I am of the opinion he should have shot her. Maybe people disagree with me, but he's not getting control. She's reaching for the gun. He can't get control over. He has his gun out. And yeah, in a perfect world, could he have done some crazy BJJ stuff and removed the gun and got her in custody real quick? But let me throw something out here hypothetically. Let's say he did all that and he was so distracted with her, dude could have popped him in the back. It actually kind of worked out the way it did because he was up, right, to see him coming kind of thing. We can look at this and Monday morning quarterback the shit out of all of this. Was it perfect arrest control? Fuck no, it wasn't. And we always make the joke like, oh, well, women can't be cops. Well, this is a guy that's struggling with a land shark, all right? Land whale, sorry. Don't want to get sharks. But it's tougher than it seems sometimes, right? Especially when people are squirrely and sometimes people have guns out. And I'm sure everybody in the comments has their opinions. But my thing is he could have very easily shot her, and it would have been totally justified.
It would have been justified but ugly.
Well, and that's the thing, though, is this is a lot different than the thing in Michigan. But, you know, people are getting charged for stuff that is potentially justified but ugly. She's got a gun and she's reaching for it. You know what I mean? Like at that moment, you could have shot her, right? He saved her life. Yeah. Honestly, with his patience.
Well, I keep going back to the fact that the guy survived. The guy literally fought two people that were armed. He transitioned from one suspect to another and then back to the original suspect, and did so with an amazing reaction time. Probably faster than me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I could have transitioned the way he transitioned. That's all honesty. Like, I just don't know if my head would have been where his head was at.
I honestly think for all things considered, I think he did a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, I do, but then I am analyzing each segment on its own, and it's like it's like, well, is 1 out of 4 a passing score? You know, and it's just, I don't know. Because if the other guy wasn't there and he was just struggling with that female, but maybe he was a little bit in the OODA loop. You know, I think I might have mentioned that to you.
Thing. And I love you, buddy, but you know, we're breaking this down segment by segment. This is happening way faster for him. Way fast. I mean, we've rewound, you know, things happen so quick that we had to go back. I think sometimes we get so into, like, how often do we shit on the cop blockers and stuff and the ACABers because they do the same shit, right?
Yeah.
I think we have to be cautious when we do the same thing too, of not being fair. I don't know. That's kind of my 2 cents on it. Like, we can break it down and say, this and this and this and this. He could have done better. And again, he started with her with handcuffs out too, did he not? Or he was playing with him when he went up to grab her?
Probably still trying to put him back in his case, in his handcuff case, after struggling with the first guy.
Yeah.
Because that takes a second.
Yeah. It's hard to do shit perfectly, man. It really is.
Well,
but I interrupted you. You continue, though.
Well, no, and like I wanted to mention, Pink Mosquito made a good point. This is an excellent training video because there is so much to it. I go back and forth so much. Like, God bless this guy. I'm glad that he survived this encounter. I would also, at the same time, hate to have seen one of those mistakes that he made become a fatal mistake.
Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree with that.
And that's kind of where my criticism comes from, because it's like, and I think Blue Bear mentioned it a minute ago. At the end of the day, I think it was more luck than anything. Because if those suspects wanted to kill him, I think they would have.
That's every call, though.
I know, but they were there with the means available immediately, you know? Like, and it just, she's on the ground with the gun, and he knew she had a gun. He controlled her arm. You know, you can scooch up on her. And like my first thought, my very first instinct when I was thinking about making a video on this incident was, you know, you got her one arm pinned down, you got her other arm in your hand. You can rip that arm off of her body. You know, I want her to experience an incredible amount of pain so that she does not even consider going for that gun. Or, you know, if you're on her and but she was wearing like a sweatshirt and stuff, but if it's like a sweaty, greasy fight, and you know, you don't have, it's hard to maintain physical control of her because it's so sweaty and all this other stuff. If she's going for that, well, I know, but he could physically control her easily. But if she went for that gun, then by all means, you grab your gun, you posture up, and you put a couple in the back of her head. 100%. You know, I don't know, but I just
let me add something. You brought up a good point as far as like the pain. I see this. In my opinion, I see this a lot in videos, and I saw this a lot in me towards the end of my career. Is even as fucked up as this situation was, people are hesitating because of how it looks, right? And that comes not with, you know, him. You know, he chose not to shoot her, but he could have fucking pummeled her. Justifiably pummeled her to prevent her from getting the gun. And I think there's hesitation on people's parts because, yeah, man, if he punches her in the back of the head or does this and that, it's going to look awful. And I don't know what was going through his head, so it's not fair for me to say what was going through his head, but I just know what would go through my head sometimes is, how is this going to look? And that how is this going to look, I think sometimes causes issues.
Yeah. I think I am falling victim to a little bit of the hindsight thinking, because I'm still having a hard time putting myself in his shoes. There were so many things happening. I I get it, but I think that I'm biased because of the way he initially contacted the car.
To me, the initial contact.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to get you off your.
But
roll
it carried through the entire interaction, and I'm looking at it through that lens, and it's upsetting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Like for me, the first part of that video really set the stage for everything else, because the way I would have handled it, God knows, but the way I was trained to handle it, that's you just gunpoint those people until your cover gets there, and then you safely deal with it. However you guys do your felony stops.
Mm-hmm.
And if they run, that is problematic, but they run, right? You're there by yourself. You're not going to chase 3 people into the unknown. You get the car back kind of thing. That whole thing, like that is bad. And then all right, I'm just going to detain this dude who's in a stolen car with no control and just kind of lackadaisically, it felt like that at least, roll up there. Yes. But then once the shit got real, I think he did a pretty good job. I guess I don't want to say recovering from it, but I when I thought about this was he lucky or was it skill or whatever we were talking about? I don't remember the exact quote.
Was he lucky or good?
Lucky or good. I think he was extremely lucky, but I think he was good in the sense that he understood his surroundings, because I think a lot of us would have got consumed with her and he would have been dead in the water.
Yeah. Oh, here's another point that was brought up to me when they sent me the video. And they were talking about whether or not a civilian should be helping an officer who's struggling with somebody. And I have another issue because I don't know if I can find it in the video. He's on the ground wrestling with her with a gun, and he's asking civilians to help him.
I disagree with that. I think that, I don't know, it's tough because you don't want to put a civilian. I
don't think that you should ask a civilian to help you in that situation.
No, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that you're putting them in a bad position. Like that's your job right there, you know? Like and you don't ask them to come over and help you get her into cuffs. You know, he could have fired immediately. Or you take care of business one way or another, but you don't bring unarmed civilians into a gunfight. Like this is a gunfight. You don't ask civilians to get out of their car and come into your gunfight.
Mike brought up a good point. Maybe his lack of control on the female saved his life by being aware of the dude walking up on him. Sometimes these things work out in strange ways. I talked about it on my podcast. I don't know if I've talked about it here. I had a gun or a guy that probably could have killed me, and his gun was jammed. God works in mysterious ways, or whoever you believe in, right? Maybe that was this guy's saving grace. I mean, you could make an argument if the guy complied initially at the car when he went to go handcuff him. What's to say she doesn't come around and shoot him while he's getting handcuffed? I don't know. I think at the end of the day, the felony stop is the way to go. But hold on a second. You do the felony stop by yourself, and they both start cranking rounds off at you. Then you have 2 guns shooting at you, and where are you going to shoot? It's fucked up. This job is fucked up sometimes. It really is.
I guarantee this scenario is going to be used for defensive tactics training. I guarantee it's going to be used as a training scenario in my department. And I will know what to do because I have watched this video 1,000 times. But like I don't know how good your training was at your department, or like your annual defensive tactics, but ours, it's very common for them to put us in a lose-lose situation. And then once it's over, they'll discuss with us, okay, you know, what was your thought process on that? And then they'll say something like, well, here's a couple more things to consider if you get in that position again, and now go about your day. You know, this is one of those situations where he was kind of in a lose-lose situation. Sure, a felony stop would have been the best option. Stand back, hold him at gunpoint, If they run, they run. As an officer, you have a tendency that when somebody runs to chase after them, it's a hard thing to stop. And then you got 2 suspects, blah, blah, blah. If he did decide, look, they're about to get out of the car, like they've busted me. I was sitting there watching them. They busted me. They're going to get out of the car and go. I want to catch this person so I can take the bad guy to jail. He goes up to the car, has perfect control over the guy, locks his fingers behind his back, grabs his cuffs, holds them properly in the middle, cuffs the guy. As he's doing that, female walks over, puts her gun to the officer's head and kills him. I mean, there's just so many ways that this could have gone bad. It's amazing that he survived. That's, at the end of the day, that's my final take on it.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I think there was definitely some luck involved. I think there was some skill involved, and I think there was some complacency involved. Yeah. And there was a big combo of that, and I'm glad he's okay. And if he wants to come on my podcast and talk about it, I'd love to have him. I'm sure he can't, but
yeah,
it'd be because we're trying to get in his head. We don't know what was in his mind. There's so many things that we don't know about, and that's I read a news article and we watched this video, but we're also getting this from the video's perspective. I mean, like I saw some points on this where I was like, I would have considered trying to get a hold of that gun and just yeeting it or whatever. But what we've heard too is where there's one, there's two, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot to think about, and I hope that whoever listens to this or watches this, if you're not a cop, it helps you kind of understand all these things that are going through our mind all the time. And we see stuff like this, right? We see stuff where this goes totally back asswards, and we don't want it to happen to us. So we do some shit that people don't understand sometimes.
Yeah. And that is I had a different, you mentioned yeeting the gun, and somebody said that in the comments. I think I'm like 60-40 against that, but that's just kind of like, but if there's one in the pipe and you're pocketing a loaded gun and it's like a Glock, I think it was a Glock. There's no safety or anything. That's
why I don't pocket carry. Yeah.
It's not very safe. I mean, there's a lot of things, and you don't know that gun. You don't know how many rounds have been fired through it. Sometimes if it's an older gun like that and you bump it, it'll go off.
That's true. Yeah. If you yeet it far enough, you might put a round through the Family Dollar down there.
So I like to know where the gun is. And if it's secure in her waistband and I'm able to scooch up on top of her and get her arms out here, I can sit there for the rest of the day and she's not going to get to that gun. That gun is behind me and it's safe.
It's because you have quads of steel.
Oh.
I'm just fat.
But you know what?
It would have been like a Titanic matchup between me and her, man. 2 whales going at it.
It would have been so slow. No. You could have just flattened her. I mean, now in all seriousness though, I mean that officer wasn't small either. So physically he could have controlled her. I just, some people might want to toss the gun. I personally wouldn't. But I'm going to say that's a personal choice. I don't know. But at the end of the day, thank God this officer is okay. The suspects made very poor choices, put themselves in a situation. I don't know. That's it.
Well, they were on their way. They only stole the car to go to the orphanage to feed the kids.
That's right.
So
well, and she, by the way, she did say, and yes, thank you very much, Nikki. She did say in her jail interview that he would never harm a soul, that he wasn't going to hurt that officer. So I guess the officer shouldn't have shot him. He should have just let the guy stand there and point a gun at him and taken his word for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's insane. I can't. I don't know. Anyway, have we beaten this dead horse?
I think. Did you say? Hold on a second. Did you say
you haven't?
I could throw the mask on for.
Oh, dude, this is so much better than the mask because I can hear you. You look fantastic. Doesn't he look good?
I mean, I'm kind of partial to this horse, to be honest. It's a good looking horse. I
like it. I like it a lot. What what should we transition to?
Well, to be fair, you sent me the other videos like 2 hours before it started. I didn't watch it. I did watch the. You know which one was really good was the car where the guy was passed out.
Yeah,
Can you play that one though without getting in trouble?
I'll cut it out before they shoot because there's actually a lot of time before the shooting happens. I thought that was
after the shooting is probably some stuff to talk about too. Not a lot, but some.
Well, but I can't. I don't know how to like skip it because I didn't.
Isn't there like a button 30 seconds ahead?
Maybe, but
Why don't you skip it off camera, you doofus?
You're asking me to do things that I don't know how to do.
I guess I'm going to have to take over the technical part of this at some point.
You can. I
don't know how the fuck to do it. I am horsing around, Jeff.
I think you are capable of actually showing your screen.
Well, you don't want to see the Pornhub that's on my screen right now. It's kind of weird.
Well, that's why you share only windows, not your entire screen. That's how it works.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so this video I thought was a really good example of, people will see officers being, I don't know if heavy-handed is the right word, but maybe giving strong commands. People will say the officers are being assholes. Let's put it that way. They're like, that officer was a dick. He didn't need to treat that guy that way. The guy was being compliant, blah, blah, blah. He said he had an illness. This is a situation where the guy is using every excuse in the book and actually being nice, right? Like in the beginning, he's being really nice, just acting confused, but it was all an act, and he's got a gun on him, and he ends up shooting at the officers. This is the reason why, and I made that one video a long time ago where I said this is why they feared for their lives, because it's people who weren't necessarily giving off danger cues, but their actions are trying to throw off the officers so that they can get a surprise ambush or something on them. It's not something that happens every day, but it's something that happens, and it's something that we watch and we train on, and that's why when you are asleep in your car just trying to catch a nap and an officer approaches you and contacts you, you might be like, well, that officer was such an asshole with me. I was just trying to catch a nap. When you watch this video, you might understand why the officers were such dicks. Is that?
Yeah, and some people are deceptive because they're trying to lie to you. Some people are being deceptive because they want to kill you. And sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yeah, and some people are just genuinely confused. And it's hard to understand. This, I will say, it's kind of funny because this officer is taking pictures of the guy passed out in the car.
I was wondering if he did it to document it, kind of thing, if it ended up being a DUI.
Yeah.
Hello,
I think it was Snapchat or something.
Get on, police, wake up!
Well, I mean, it's not a big deal because the guy didn't end up driving away. But if we have this and the guy's in his car running, I'm going to be bumper to bumper, have a car behind him. You guys do that?
Yeah. Well, you know what? We'll have story time later. I could do story time now.
Go ahead. I think people like story time.
So, not to bitch about my old agency, but I'm going to bitch about my old agency. They got weird about us pinning cars in. Because people would do it in situations maybe they didn't need to. And so, of course, the department overreacts. A perfect time to pin a car in is something like this, where you think it's potentially either medical or DUI, because you don't want this guy driving off and, I don't know, killing people, right? Well, the department didn't like it because it could potentially, I don't know, that maybe they felt like there was some Fourth Amendment violations, maybe they, whatever. But I think most of all, they didn't want their cars getting damaged. In theory, the cars get damaged if you do it right. That's why they have push bumpers. I hated it. What was great is we got to a point where, like, on Graves, we do that shit all the time, right? People pass out in the McDonald's drive-thru all the time drunk. Pin them in, get them out of there, nobody gets hurt. It's awesome, right? Couldn't do it anymore. But it's amazing when the supervisors do it during the day at a red light that somebody's passed out on. Justifiably. Like, it just... people get admin gets weird about stuff they shouldn't get mad at. Like, this is clearly something that's totally fine to do if you do it right, and it's not that hard to do it wrong.
Well, and
Get the car in so nobody gets hurt. It's easy.
Yeah, and every single time I've done it, because I've had it with younger, like not just newer officers, but newer officers who are also young. When you tell them, hey, get up here and pin this car in, they'll probably come a little closer than this, but they won't be touching the bumper. Every single time I did it, I would make sure that this car moved a little bit. Yeah. You know,
well,
I'm
gonna go
that way,
sorry, guys.
that way you know you're locking it in, and then when the other car comes on the rear bumper, I'm going to move this car and the other cruiser because you want to make sure that car is secure. That's my 2 cents.
Well, and they didn't want us doing it on steals, which drove me nuts.
Like on stolen cars, you mean?
No. And I think, honestly, the only reason they didn't want us doing it on steals is because they knew people were going to fight and cause problems and stuff. We're the fucking police. We're supposed to arrest people in stolen cars. I don't know why I got Italian there for a second, but that shit would drive me wild. And a lot of times if somebody's sleeping in a stolen car, they're probably high anyway, and you don't want them on the road. Some of the police departments are just so fucking afraid to do police work. It drove me nuts. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I feel a little better now. Thanks for the therapy session.
You're welcome.
Kettle Police. Hello, Kettle Police. Hey, you all right, man? Fine. Okay. Well, you were passed out of the pump for a little bit. You want to go turn the car off? No. No?
No.
Hey, what do you think about taking the keys out of the car before you?
I would have been in there and had the keys out of the car already.
Yeah.
There's a video on my other channel where I literally jumped in the passenger seat, ripped the keys out of a car on somebody.
Yeah.
So
maybe some people would argue there's a Fourth Amendment issue there. I think that would be an interesting thing to bring up as far as getting in somebody's car without. I think you probably have some reasonable suspicion. I think you have a caretaking exception there. I would be curious what the courts think about something like that, but I would say you would do that.
Yeah. I know that. Let's see. Oh, you're not the person I thought you were when you made the comment.
Good question. This one is.
Yeah. I can tell you that years ago we used to be able to pit a lot more than we can now. Now, with my agency, the pit policy is almost mirroring the pursuit policy. And without going into great detail about what the pursuit policy is, we're not allowed to chase it unless we're basically allowed to kill it. So if it's a deadly force situation, we can pursue and we can pit. Back in the day, we used to have the motto of pit early and pit often to prevent a pursuit. If we got behind a car, we lit it up and it looked like they were about to accelerate, we would we would pit that car. There were so many fantastic pits that happened back in the day. And then it changed to where you can't pit it unless you can pursue it. So a situation like this, where if the guy took off, no, we wouldn't be able to pit that car.
At my agency, very few situations similar to what it sounds like yours would be where you could actually pursue, and we could pit. It didn't happen very often because a lot of times we were just going so damn fast that we couldn't pit, because you got to get them pretty early, because once you get up to highway speed, I think you're not supposed to pit over like 40 miles an hour or something like that. Who's seen the video lately that's been going around where the guy tries to pit the car and ends up going like, I've never seen that much air in my life. They were going.
I don't know if it's the same one. I saw one. It was like a Tahoe or something that got pitted, and it rolled. I didn't see it go flying.
Well, the police car the police car pitted, lost control, went over.
That was from years ago.
Ramp.
That was stupid.
Yeah.
The guy was a dumbass for attempting that pit, and it was infuriating because all these people were like, "Yeah, good job." Like, no, you almost fucking died because you were a dumbass. Like,
I don't know what the right answer is to this, but I've seen a lot of agencies where it was funny. Like, we could barely pursue at all. We're getting way off track of this video, but I'll try and be brief. We could never pursue, hardly ever. But then there's these other agencies, they can chase till the wheels fall off, but they're not allowed to pit. And it kind of cracked me up because they're like, well, we just pit them until they crash or they run out of gas. That could be a long time.
Yeah.
I would assume there's some technology, hopefully, around the bend where you can. I know I've seen the thing with like the net on the wheels and stuff, and
I still think that it has to be in a fairly controlled environment for that to work.
you would think. I mean, from 70 to 0 would be problematic, right?
Yeah. You know what's funny is our mutual aid policy. Some of the agencies neighboring me, and including state troopers, I believe, they are not pit trained, so they're not allowed to do pits. We are basically not allowed to pit unless we can pursue. But if another agency is pursuing a vehicle and it doesn't fit into our pursuit policy, but they're requesting mutual aid and asking us to come in and pit their car, we're actually allowed to get involved and pit a car for them.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like technically allowed, but I've never seen it happen. Also, we don't drive fast cars, so if there's a pursuit coming into our jurisdiction at 100 miles an hour, we're not going to catch it anyway. So it's kind of a moot point. But yeah, and a thing about pits too. You guys pitted, right? Like you had a pit policy and you're pit trained. Yeah. I got into these back before I got banned from all the law enforcement pages on Reddit. I used to get in these arguments with people. They're like, "Oh, pitting is dangerous and it damages cars." Blah blah blah. I'm like, no,
not if it's done right.
No, a properly done pit causes zero damage to either car. Maybe a minor, very minor amount of paint transfer, but it is extremely safe, and it does not damage the cruisers or the suspect's car. And they're like, no, it's just science, man. If you're crashing two cars together, well, guess what? A pit is not crashing two cars together. It's pulling up next to them at a safe speed between 20 and 45 miles an hour, matching their speed, gently touching their bumper. Once you have that contact, you just steer into them. That car will spin around. You drive through the pit, perform a U-turn, and you're going to find yourself blocking that car in. And a car behind you is going to block him in from the back. The car should be completely immobilized.
You know what I don't like about the pits is the only time we could really use those was like in a deadly force situation, right? With the pursuit.
Yeah, it's just the same thing everybody says.
Yeah, the way the pit is set up though is you're going to be in the crossfire, right? So like we were trained to like get the hell out of the way. That happens awful quick, as we've seen in some of these videos. So you got to either get down under the engine block or get the hell out of there really quick, because the way we did felony stops, the car in the back is going to have a bunch of guns pointed at him, same as the suspect, you know?
Yeah.
I didn't like that a whole lot about the pits, but that was my 2 cents on that.
The one thing that I would say is that I have never seen a pit turn into a use of lethal force, or I've never seen a pit where they started shooting afterwards. It's not saying that it hasn't happened. It's not saying that it's never happened. It's just that
I think a lot of agencies use pits for like pursuits and stuff like that are regarding like traffic stuff. Because for the most part, like if we're chasing a car, it's probably a homicide suspect. You know what I mean? Like at least in my agency, it felt like a lot of pursuits ended with shots fired. A lot.
Oh.
So, but that was the only time we're chasing. Or it certainly felt, not always, right? Like there were times people would crash out and run and stuff like that. But there was at least in my opinion, there was a high percentage of those type of situations that end up being shots fired. But that could just be my perception off too.
Yeah, I don't know. We've had a lot that turned into people crashing into fields and running, and I don't know. It doesn't really matter at this point.
I guess we should probably finish watching this video at some point.
So we got this guy, and the officers are like, "Will you turn the car off?" And he goes, "No." He's high as a kite.
You're just gonna take off?
I have to, Will.
Why?
Because I have somebody to.
No, just turn the car off right now.
No, sir.
Let's turn the car off.
No, don't.
Right there. He's going for his gun, but nobody noticed it, right?
I wonder if I saw some. I read the comments in police activity, and people pointed out that, and I was kind of curious. Did the guy's body camera catch it, but he didn't catch that he had that gun? Because if this dude knew the guy had a gun, he didn't let anybody else know about it. Which is concerning.
I think he just didn't notice.
Get out of the car.
Back up.
Is he pointing at the gun?
Oh, yeah, maybe he is, yeah.
King on dispatch, 1 gunpoint.
Back up, I have.
Get out of the car.
Don't.
Get out of the car.
Back up. Back
King on
up.
dispatch, 1 gunpoint.
Back up, I have.
Get out of the car.
Well, maybe
Out of the
maybe that's
car.
how he let him know as he pointed it at it.
Maybe he's worried about crossfire at this point.
Car, go on the ground.
I have a condition.
I have a condition.
Leave me alone.
On the ground. Get on the ground.
So this is where people are like, I have a good video on the body camera channel where this guy's like, I have a learning disability. Like, none of these excuses matter. And the stuff where he's like, I have a condition, that was just a distraction.
Almost every fight that I've ever been on the job, and I'm on the ground with somebody, if it's a female, I'm pregnant, they're never pregnant. If I'm whoever, I have a skin condition, my arm's broken, my leg's broken, my whatever, like playing possum essentially, right? People, well, this guy was really playing possum, but
yeah,
people say this shit all the time. So when people see this in body camera videos, they get all like, oh, he even told the officer that he had this or that. 100 times or 99 times out of 100, after we finish these calls, it's complete bullshit. I have a good story about it not being bullshit, but I don't want to go off the rails.
I mean, I don't either, but this goes into play with some of the other videos where it was something and the officers goofed up, but you've got so many guys like this. It's like the sky is falling, the Chicken Little scenario, you know?
Well, I'm not saying you don't put people into the rescue position, because I know which one you're talking about.
So I'm going to go back a little bit so we can watch it without delay or without stopping it.
Dispatch, 1 gunpoint.
Back up, I have.
Get out of the car.
Condition.
Out of the car.
I have a
Get out of the car. Go on the ground.
I have a condition. I have a condition. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
On the ground. Get on the ground.
Get on the ground. Chase. What are you going to do?
Northbound or CCP.
I have a gun in my hand. What are you doing?
Drop the gun. Drop the gun. Drop the gun.
Drop the gun.
King, not.
So then as he's running away, he turns and he shoots at the officers.
Which I cannot. I don't know why they didn't return fire right there. And maybe they saw something we didn't, as far as like the backdrop, and they didn't. You know, you got a busy parking lot and things like that, and they chose not to. But that was my first thing. Is, you know, one guy's like, "Wait, did he shoot at us?" Like he didn't know who shot, and it's like, "Holy shit! Why aren't you guys? Why isn't this guy dying in a hail of gunfire?"
Yeah. That was weird, because the on-one officer just said, did he shoot at us? And then he's airing like shots fired, shots fired, shots fired. And then, when I watched this, I think I looked away. I didn't actually catch the moment that they shot him. But here he is laying down shot, and you said you had some stuff to say afterwards. I think I know what you're talking about, but.
Well, yeah, let's watch this part, and then I can kind of give my 2 cents.
Piano, with me. You see the gun? What?
My video's froze. I don't know if that's everybody. Oh, no, it's frozen.
No.
All right, pause it right here.
We're at 425.
So my whole thing on this, and again, this is Monday morning quarterbacking the fuck out everything. I wasn't there. You got the one guy who's kind of sucked into that trash can area, but then you have the other guy kind of standing out there in the open. I didn't like that. I like that they slowed it down, though, right? They didn't just run in there.
They didn't run up on him.
They did a good job of slowing it down. And if you noticed, and we kind of went past it, there's another guy that would be, I guess,
he's back on the other side.
I don't know the directions here.
Yeah, he's over there on the other side of that gray car.
Yeah, so he's over there. So they did a good job of L-ing up on him, so to speak. So there's coverage on both ends there. But like that was my whole thing, was like this other guy on the side here probably should have sucked in behind the other guy.
Yeah, but there's a lot of adrenaline at play.
Yeah. Again, I probably would have done the same fucking thing. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now that we can watch it and slow things down, we want to learn from it, right?
Yeah, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to be up on top of him already. You know, just officers around the country are going to charge that guy.
RCCB,
They did a really good job of slowing it down.
Should we answer this question?
I think we should, because Pink's been an active participant here.
Oh, she's fantastic.
Yeah. So here's my whole 2 cents on this, right? for some people are a much better marksman than I, right? I'm okay, but some people are much better marksmen than I. But when you add in, like when you shoot at the range, you're shooting a stale target, right? They're not moving anything like that. Limbs move. And so when you have a situation where limbs are moving around, it's a much smaller target area and it's way less likely to hit them, right? That's why the whole center mass thing, a lot of agencies teach that. I think most agencies I would venture. And we're not ever shooting to kill. Ever. You're shooting to stop the threat. Right? You shoot them in the torso, they stop. You shoot them in the chest, they stop. Okay. They're not a threat right now. You reach for the gun again? Okay. They're a threat again. So you can't really just shoot to wound, so to speak, and you don't shoot to kill either. You shoot to stop the threat.
Well, and the other thing that is important to remember, and it's one of the things that I think most people fail to mention. Hang on.
Apparently I failed too.
Yes, you did. You failed. You're a failure. You're pathetic.
I am. Fat, dumb, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Yeah. Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
I'm a quarter of the way there. No, but using a firearm is lethal force. Period. Every time that you use that firearm, you are using lethal force. It doesn't matter where you hit the person, you're using lethal force. The end. So you don't use lethal force in a non-lethal capacity, if that makes any sense at all. You have non-lethal alternatives, but if you're using lethal force, you're aiming center mass, and that's at the end. And then, like he said, there's a lot of reasons for that, because let's say for a moment that, which will, I shouldn't say never. I think I heard about somebody in Canada making a policy for this, but a non-lethal application of the firearm. You know what? Maybe it was River City made a post making fun of some department. I think that's what it was.
River City, man.
I know. I think, but he gets everything from real departments. Like that's where his shit comes from. But there was like a shoot to wound.
River City, by the way.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think there was like somebody that is contemplating a shoot to wound policy, and the courts will shred that, because it's like, okay, officer, if you didn't think that this was a lethal force situation, why did you use a firearm? And you have to testify to that. Well, it was non-lethal force situation, so I shot him in the foot. Okay, officer, has anyone ever, what have you missed? What are your scores? Are you a perfect 300 shot? Are there any arteries in that region of the foot? Because I can tell you that if you sever a bone, like even if you shoot low and you hit like tib fib and you knock them both off, there's a lot of blood that goes through the center of your bones. You can bleed out by getting hit in the bone. There's a lot of ways. A gun is always a lethal force weapon, and you shoot to make sure that you hit your target, which is why you aim center mass. If it's not a lethal force situation, you should not be using your firearm. The end. I mean, is that good? Is that, do you disagree with any of that?
And like the idea of shooting to wound, and I'm not poo-pooing on you, but so you shoot to wound, but then you kill him.
Yeah.
Right?
Then you're like, oops.
That's essentially what you're saying too. Oops. We were always taught like, hey, you can't see their chest, right? All right. What is my target? Hey, I can get a hip girdle. Hey, I can get a leg. They got a leg sticking out femoral. There's stuff you can do, but like you can't shoot. I agree with you, right? It's lethal force. Lethal force is lethal force. It's lethal force. But yeah, I think it sucks that instead of police departments like focusing on talking to civilians about this type of stuff, they do TikToks. Sorry, I just had to throw in some TikTok hate because I can. But yeah, you gotta. It's lethal force is lethal force, but we don't shoot to kill, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%.
We're shooting to stop the threat.
Yeah, and But you just, you're talking about, hey, you can't always see the chest. You might hit the hip girdle. I mean, sometimes a leg might be sticking out. One of my buddies, a couple years ago, shot a guy in the arm, and he was aiming at the arm.
Because I'm assuming was his target.
Yeah, but it was still a lethal force situation.
Yeah.
If it's not a lethal force situation, you don't use the gun. The end. I don't know, and that's where you bring in the non-lethal with lethal force backup, and then it gets complicated and all the other stuff. But yeah, if it was a situation where you're like, hey, I think I can hit him in the leg, well, then somebody else should be shooting another projectile at him. A beanbag, a knee knocker, something like that. You don't shoot a lethal force projectile at somebody if you're not trying to, use, because the potential is always there that person's going to die. If you don't want that potential, if your life isn't in danger, you should be using another application of force.
Or shoot him in the pee-pee.
Sure.
That's
there
from
was
SPAC upgrades.
Although there was, I'm sure you've seen the video, and it was actually a Columbus SWAT officer in the 90s, I think it was. There was a suicidal guy with a revolver in his hand, and he was sitting in a...
Don't take Cincinnati. It was Cincinnati, I think.
No, it was 100% Columbus. Like, it's one of those ones.
Don't mind me. I'm going to search on my phone.
He's sitting on a lawn chair, in the middle of the street, and it was a SWAT officer, a sniper, and the guy actually had the gun down between his legs, kind of hanging. And when anyone approached him, he'd come up and put it under his chin. One of the times when the gun was hanging down between his legs, a SWAT officer actually, a sniper, shot the gun, and you can see the guy go like, "Ow!" and shake
Columbus,
his hand.
My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I know, because I've met the guy. But the guy shakes his hand. He's like, "Ow!" And the officer that made that shot said he regrets it, because there's so many people that are going to believe that that's the appropriate way to handle that situation going forward. It was just almost like a miracle situation that he saw the opportunity, everything aligned, and he took the shot. It's also a SWAT situation. SWAT does things slightly different than patrol for a reason. So,
Pink said the question came from the gray area around home defense. I'm a little hesitant to talk about all of that stuff because it varies state to state and what your stand the ground stuff is. My stance on it is, if somebody broke into my house, I would take the same stance as I would have as a police officer, and I would to stop the threat. It's the same deal as you shoot a guy, he goes down, he's no longer a threat. If you walk up on him and say, "Motherfucker, you broke into my house," and then pop him in the head, that's probably excessive, as much as maybe somebody would want to do that for breaking in their house. I look at it the same way, but state to state, read the law, ask a lawyer, not me.
Yeah, and I'm going to say that I'm not going to especially online, I'm not going to make a statement about something that I might, you never know in the world of possibilities of what might happen at my house. I'm not going to talk about that situation, because if I'm faced with it, I don't want the recording to be out there. But, you have to make a decision based on your own values. And generally speaking, if somebody is in your house, especially at night, and your house was locked and they made their way in, it's generally, the courts are going to view that as you're safe to assume that your life is in danger, and you should treat it as such. That's how but I have lots of thoughts on this. Yeah, I saw that comment. I intentionally did not highlight it. This might be kind of a fun one. Another police officer on Instagram who isn't here in the chat this week, but was here last week, they woke up one day and was like, "Oh my God, I had a horrible dream." And they asked, "Have you ever had a dream that your gun didn't fire?" And it kind of cracked me up, because I've had that dream. I've had a lot of dreams about lethal force situations, and I don't want to get into the details of theirs, but it was horrible what happened to this person. But I have very detailed dreams about these things. I've had one that is like repetitive, that I woke up, somebody was in my house, I shot them a bunch of times, and then I drug them outside because I didn't want them to bleed on my carpet.
Here's a pro tip, kids. Don't break into people's houses. You'll probably okay.
Another one that is a reoccurring dream of mine. And it was before I had a decent watch. Like, I mean, this is like a Garmin watch. It's like a $400 watch. But my old watch was like a $50 G-Shock or something like that, you know? Or it was a Timex Ironman. I loved that watch. And it was hard to find, like the new ones didn't have the same band on them. So when my watches broke, I would take the band off and put it on my new watch because I loved that band so much. I was just attached to it. And I would always have this freaking dream that I was at work and I would come into a situation and I would get shot in this arm. And it was like, you know, a bad hit up here where my arm would just go limp and you know that you're going to lose the arm. And my biggest concern was, hey, when they cut off my arm, are they going to take my watch off of my hand and give it back to me? Like that's like a weird reoccurring dream that I have. I don't know. Do you have any of those?
Yeah, the most real, and I think everybody's had like the gun won't shoot dream. I think that's a big thing for cops. I know I have. I had one, it was actually after I left, and it was like basically watching my friends die. It's like that scene in Avengers, Age of Ultron.
Oh,
watching my friends die, and I didn't
brutal.
do enough to help kind of thing. And for me leaving, that was the hardest thing is a lot of times for me is like I fucking left and they're still there kind of thing. Like fuck everybody else, but my friends are still there kind of thing. And so like that was a hard dream. I've only had that one once though, but I'd have dreams at work about work all the fucking time.
Yeah. You know what's funny about that, and I don't want to go completely off the rails, but when I came home from Iraq on my first tour, there was a Wisconsin National Guard unit right next to this little fob that I was in. And we were in the green zone and we were taking over old residential complexes for high-ranking Ba'ath Party members of the Iraqi government. And the property right next to the one that we occupied had a pool in it. And this Wisconsin National Guard unit got the pool running. You know, they got the pumps fixed and all this other stuff. They put water in it. We used to go over and swim in the pool. We'd have parties over there and stuff. When I came home, like, you know, because we were all in different rotations. You know, we were part of the first wave. They got there probably 6 months after us. So when we left, they were still there. I saw a news story about one of the Wisconsin National Guard soldiers drowned in that pool. And it was that same thing. Like, you know, I wasn't there to help, you know, that kind of thing, like in your dream. And it affected me. Being here, having my friends over there. Yeah, that was harder. Like being here in the United States, hearing about stuff that happened over there was harder than being over there and experiencing it myself. A very weird thing. It's kind of funny that you brought it up. So thanks for triggering.
Not really funny, and not fucking.
No, it's not funny, but it's odd. It's one of those things.
Where's my whiskey bottle?
Time to
drown the sorrows.
I need to open a new bottle. I was gonna make it a surprise. So I opened this bottle of Old Forester 1920 when we did our first stream. When was that? I've got a folder.
Probably about a month ago now, right?
I think it was December 11th. Let me find it. I can find it quickly. Because I've got a live stream folder. This is exhilarating.
Sorry, people just like to watch your mustache. People like to see the weird shit that I do.
You know what? It was. Oh wait. I don't know. Was it 11/17? Is that when we did it? Right before Thanksgiving?
Sorry, I'm entertaining people with corn. You're gonna have to figure it out.
I can't even see what you're doing. Yeah, it was 11/17 was the first live stream. And you did change the thing. So that is when I opened this bottle. We've had like 4 live streams since, and we've had one podcast. One or two. We've had 2 podcast recordings. So
Okay.
I've hit this bottle 6 times and I emptied it. It's
Nice.
It's gone. It's gone in 6 things. And this is Old Forester 1920, which is one of my favorite whiskeys. And I was telling my
I may try
wife,
that.
what's that?
I may try that.
Oh, it's
I got
good.
some, I think I got a local brew of yours. Somebody may have showed up in my mail. I need to try that.
Yes, it's good. Local stuff is always good. No, the Old Forester 1920 is a pretty hard hitting. It's 115 proof. It's got some guts to it. It's like dark. It's like a little bit drier. It's not sweet.
That's how I like my men.
That reminded me of a story I wanted to tell earlier, but I didn't know if we wanted to go there. But I wanted to go to something completely different. And I told my wife, I was like, you know what? We're going to go to Four Roses Small Batch Special Select. And I want to get a whole bottle and then down that bottle and then go to another bottle. But I knew I was probably going to empty this tonight, so I had to go upstairs and get a new bottle. And I was going to do the reveal next week, but I don't have a brand new bottle of Four Roses Small Batch Special Select. Instead, I have a bottle of Four Roses Single Barrel. So that's going to be the next bottle, and it's going to get cracked right now because you brought up... Ooh, that was a good pop. Did you catch that?
That was a good pop.
Yeah, because you brought up Iraq memories, so...
I did.
Yes, you did.
Oh, my
You
bad.
triggered
I
them.
wish I don't know why I didn't bring the whiskey down. I've got a little bit of Yingling. I had a little vodka in here and got a Bush latte to get me the rest of the way through. I finished my Kirkland Select.
I should drink more beer, especially after the bike ride I had tonight. I need the carbs. I wanted to say Jeannie is here. It's good to see you. I know it's very late. She lives in England somewhere. So
Top of the morning to you. Shrimp on the barbie.
I think that was the British penal colony that uses that kind of language.
Did you say penal?
I did. I said penal. But there was something else I saw that I wanted to address. I wanted to say, Lime Ninja, I am an Ohio police officer. I don't hide that.
You're
fact.
not Lenny, drunk. I'm Lenny.
Oh, Lenny. Fuck,
Lenny.
I am. I probably shouldn't have poured that.
I mean, technically, I'm Lloyd at this point. I'm like Prince. I'm always changing my name. The artist. That's what I'm going to be on here next time. Is the artist formerly known as Lenny?
You can change it to whatever you want.
I can change it to whatever I want. Pink brought up. This will be the last live of the year.
Yeah.
We. I really want to do next Thursday, but I got a lot going on, getting ready to go for a trip and packing and stuff. I think my wife would kill me if I came down here and got drunk in the basement and did one of these.
Yeah, I'm gonna shut it down for both channels. Like I've got some stuff already recorded for this channel. I've got some requests out for the body camera channel. There's a couple of them that if they come in, I might go ahead and edit it real quick and throw it up on YouTube. But for the most part, both channels, I'm gonna try to shut it down. Just it's Christmas time. I still have to finish my Christmas shopping. And my days off are 100% dedicated to YouTube. So, 365 days a year, I work. I'm going to take a couple weeks. And I do take vacations throughout the year, but I typically work extra to get my YouTube stuff scheduled ahead of time. Kind of like what Lenny's doing right now with his podcast and stuff. This year, with all the things I do, I didn't have time to schedule stuff ahead of time. So I'm just, and honestly, in years past, both of the last 2 years, I took the entire month of December off. This year, I don't know. I was in the mood to keep going, but I need a break. It was like I was saying when we started the podcast, I enjoy this. I keep calling it a podcast, a live stream. I really enjoy this. This is relaxing to me. I'm sitting here talking to one of my best friends.
Do we just become best friends?
We're one of. You're not my best friend.
Not yet.
Not yet. No, but this is relaxing to me. I'm talking about stuff I understand. I enjoy it. But all the prep work and the editing is monotonous. It's something. So yeah, taking a little break. There's always a chance there might be a surprise live stream if I kind of want to do another one with just my wife. Like, and I know Lenny's tied up. It might be a zero preparation. If I can sneak that in, I might. But aside from that, no, we're shut it down for the rest of the year. So
well, and who knows? The next one I do, I might be in a hotel room, which could be kind of fun.
Oh yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But I should. It'll be in the evening. I should be able to do it. So
that'll be fun though.
That would be fun.
It'll be easy because you just use a webcam.
Yeah, I'll just make sure I bring everything with me.
No, that'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Was there something else? Oh, you know what? While I'm thinking about it, because there's a good chance this will never come up again. I want to. It's a subject that you've talked about on the podcast many times, and I want to make a video about it, but I don't know if I can appropriately. I'm building it up way too much. I want to talk about gay cops.
Oh my god! All right, the live stream's over, guys. Thank you very much.
It's a quick one. And the reason I say that is because so many of our interactions make me think of some of the funny stories I've had over the years with my gay friends that are cops. And there's, you know, this might be one part of it is a topic for another day, but there's been a lot of stuff locally where I am where there's these like quote unquote gay organizations that are coming out saying, you know, that the police have always been against gay people, this and that and the other thing, keeping us down. And I don't think those organizations or that people in general have any idea how many gay cops there are.
No idea.
There's a lot of gay cops.
And we all fucking love them, man.
They're just cops.
Yeah. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. If you're a good cop, you're a good cop. If you're a good person, you're a good cop. Or a good person. I don't know why we base all of these things about what you do in your bedroom. Like, why is this the forefront? Like, I always go, I'm not going to take this away, but like the dog mom thing, I always make fun of that. Like, everybody makes, like, that's your personality. Is like, you rescued a dog and that's your personality. You're gay, that's your personality. Like, why do we have to do that? You're straight, that's your personality. Like, how many guys do we see that has, you know, hats that say I eat ass on them? Like, why? Can we just, like, be normal again?
Does that make you straight?
I say that as I have a mustache on a live stream, but can we just fucking calm down a little bit? Like, who cares what people are doing? And like, were there some atrocities committed by police officers in the past? Yeah. We're not them. We didn't do anything. Some of my best friends on the police department were gay. No one cares. Stop making it, trying to be outraged about fucking everything. No one cares.
Yeah. You know, I want to say just quick, Carrie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comments on Facebook, Instagram, everything. Huge supporter. Thank you very much. You know, I don't even know where to start, like with some of this. And it's really sad. I'm going to say that it's sad the way gay police officers are treated, frankly. I was talking to a gay female police officer not too long ago, and she was talking about the discrimination that she has faced from the gay community for being a police officer, which is insane because it's all about love is love and coexist and everyone can believe what they want to believe, whatever, until you believe something slightly different and then you're not welcome. And she was talking about how she went into a gay bar, and was basically forced out of the building for being a police officer, which is like,
is that not discrimination?
It's horrible. It's horrible. Like they're treating these gay officers like second class citizens. It is absolutely horrible. And there's no other, it's unacceptable. And it really hurts my heart, to be honest.
Well, speaking of hate, and I don't want to take it away from what you're saying, but the most horrendous things I ever heard said to black officers were from black people.
Yeah.
Horrendous things. Like,
it is.
And I don't want to make this into a race thing, but like, why are we all so goddamn hateful? Right? Like, it gets thrown on cops a lot of the time. But I mean, like, how many gay pride parades where they're like, we don't want the cops there? And I'm like, do you realize, like, I don't know, my agency, it seemed like 20% of the cops were gay. That's a huge chunk of people. Like,
yeah,
we don't care. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Just like, can we go? I wish we could learn from the mistakes of the past. And clearly we have not.
Yeah, and that should be across the board.
It makes me sad, man. It pisses me off, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, because, like, you know, we all have, like, our little groups. Like, my group is I'm a police officer and I'm a veteran. Like, that's kind of like my small exclusive group, right? And if something were to happen where I go to, like, my small little comfort group and they don't accept me because of some small thing about my personality that I can't control, that would be devastating to me. And I can't imagine the feelings of these gay police officers being treated that way. I mean, it's equally as bad as telling a black person that they can't sit at the dairy counter at a diner. You know what I mean? That is every bit as awful and hateful and discriminatory, and it should not be tolerated in our society whatsoever. And it's just so horrible that it's the people in that community that are doing it to their fellow members, I guess. You know, and I did want to say, and I've seen some comments, and I'm not going to call out the people. There's gay people in the chat right now. You know, I know who they are. I don't know all of them because there's probably some. I don't have a list of the gays in my chat, but there's probably.
You don't have a list, an Excel spreadsheet of the gays.
No, I haven't categorized all the gays yet, but like they're here. We're all just a big group. But if I could, I have a funny gay story. Can I tell a funny gay story?
Can I have like 2 seconds? Because I want to address this, and then you tell the funny gay story.
1,000, 2, 1,000.
Fuck off. So the Bush peach, is that why they're taking away my apple is for peach? Fuck that, but I'll try it. Anyway.
Oh, the peach sounds disgusting.
Yeah, they said it was the last year of the apple, and I'm like, so it's one of my favorite beers, to be honest with you. But anyway, tell your funny gay story.
I have heard, I don't partake in any of the flavored beers, to be honest. And for some reason where I am, the Natty Light is more popular than Bush. But anyway, I don't drink any of that stuff anyhow. So my funny gay story. This was years ago. It's a buddy of mine. I have his number. I don't text him all the time, but I do text him occasionally. And if he posts something on social media that seems like he's having a bad day, I will send him a text message. Like we're close enough for that, although we don't see each other all the time. But he was a very new officer. We arrested this dude. He was, I don't remember what we arrested for. It was some black guy, and he was kind of a big dude. And he was trying to get under our skin the entire time. And he could tell that my partner at the time was a newer officer. He was young, and he's he was kind of awkward looking because he was young but bald. He had like a very high receding hairline. So he was like 24 years old, receding hairline. And I'm just me. I'm like this fat white dude with a mustache. And
you said you're a fat white dude. Shut the fuck up.
I am. I'm portly. I'm thick. I'm a thick white guy.
You don't know the difference. Anyway, go on.
But anyway, and I can't remember the first. Oh, I know what it was. So we're waiting for our shot to go into ID. Did you guys do this where you have your own fingerprints and mugshot system, and then they went to the jail and they got it done again?
No.
Yeah, some reason my agency does this, and it's like it needs to stop. But anyway, that's besides the point. So we're in like the holding area because there's both ID rooms with fingerprints and mugshots are occupied, and we're in a little side room, and the guy's sitting on the bench with his hands cuffed behind his back. My buddy and I are standing on opposite corners of the room because that's what you do. And the dude's trying to get under our skin. And I can't remember the first thing that he said was he was making fun of my partner. And he was like just making fun of his looks, like everything that he could to get under his skin. Nothing was working. And then he goes, finally he goes, "God damn you ugly." He goes, "Not you." And he looks over at me. He goes, "You're a pretty good looking guy." He goes, "No homo, but you're a pretty good looking guy." And I looked over at my buddy and I just kind of smiled, and he smiled and he looked down. And then a couple minutes later it goes by and we stand the guy up. We're about to walk out of the room, and it's my partner that's kind of pushing him through the door. And he looks at him. He goes, "Dude, you are so fucking ugly." He goes, "I bet you get no pussy." And like we both fucking lost it. And it was just one of those moments where like we were having, it was hilarious to us simply because the guy was so ignorant, had no idea what was going on. And then my buddy was like, he's like, "Yep." He's like, "That's right. I get zero pussy." I don't know. That was my funny gay story. And he and I bonded over that. And I don't know. Believe it or not, it's one of my favorite memories as a police officer, that moment. And I'm not one of those people. I'm not going to wear a rainbow shirt or put a sticker on my car or anything like that. But you know, these guys and girls, they're part of the brotherhood. They're out there doing everything that I'm doing. They're awesome people. That other part of their life has it doesn't create a conflict at all. And it also, in the population, we deal with that kind of stuff all the time too. Like I can't tell you how many domestics I've responded to where it's a couple of dudes or a couple of chicks. You know, different kinds of cross-dressers or trans people, whatever they choose to identify themselves, whatever. If they're having a problem, we just respond, we try to address the problem, and then we move on. This idea that we're treating people differently because of these things is absurd, and it's not us that's doing it. It's the general population, and not necessarily the general population, but it's that segment of the population that's doing it to the people that they claim to support. And it's really sad.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's one of those things, like, I don't want to give away too much because I don't want to dox this dude or anything, but I had a friend of mine send me a thing, and he's like, "Hey, are you going to do something special in June for PMPM?" And I said, "No." And my reason is because I appreciate you guys year round. I think it's, and you know, people may have a different opinion, but like, I think it's patronizing to put rainbow shit over everything and for 1 month a year. It's like all these history months is like, why don't we appreciate people all year long? I don't like that kind of stuff. That's the way I look at it. And he's like, "Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense." Like, I love the dude. He's a great dude. He's been a good friend. But I don't think it's disrespectful for me not like to put up a rainbow flag. It's like, dude, I like you year round. I'm not going to put up a rainbow flag in June. And let's be honest, like, businesses are just doing that to sell people shit. It's wrong.
Well,
I mean, if you ask me.
They're also doing it because they don't want their windows smashed out when the next riot happens.
Sure.
Like that's also a thing, which is sad. Here, I want to give Free Thinker some love. We haven't addressed him very much. He's been very tame tonight.
You know what? But to be fair, I mean, like, he said some stuff we didn't agree with, and I made fun of him. But he's here and he's still playing. I'll give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, he disagrees when he disagrees, and he supports when he supports. So
yeah.
I give him fair credit for that. Said, "So what do cops call women that are constantly chasing cops?" Those are badge bunnies. And that's it's an easy one to answer because that's the answer. Yeah.
You want to talk anything more controversial? You want to talk about Kanye or anything like that while we're at it? Or
did you see
when Alex Jones is the voice of reason?
Oh no. Yeah, when Alex Jones kicked Kanye, did he kick him off the podcast?
I didn't see all of it. I can't, like, I don't want to do the whole drama of it. Once Kanye starts talking about liking Hitler, I'm like, done.
Yeah.
I'm out. We're good.
That was insane. See, I thought you wanted to do something that was really going to piss people off. Like, did you see the Trump NFT video today?
No.
It's hilarious.
Did
I'm
he
trying
not-
to figure.
Here, okay, hold on a second. Maybe you pay more attention to stuff than I do. I saw something where Trump was saying that we needed to change the Constitution or something.
Okay, I'll be honest. I didn't look super deep into that, but I think he was taken slightly out of context.
And that could happen, but that's concerned. I remember I read whatever I read was on Fox News. And I'm like, oh shit, if Fox News is going after him, it must have been fucked up.
See, Trump put out a video saying that he's selling NFTs.
Oh, good.
And I don't know if I can find just the video by itself on YouTube because everything is commentary.
Former U.S. President Donald Trump, a collectible trading company.
Yeah, it's all the stuff people talking about. If you can find it later, I was gonna play that and kind of roast him. He's getting roasted hard online.
I saw Spencer's comment here. I'm a registered independent. He needs to stop, man. Like
You're saying it's a big.
I don't know. I'm kind of over that whole thing.
When I play these videos, you're not hearing them in the background.
Oh, I'm hearing them. Yeah, you're fucking up your live stream.
Sorry. I want to find the right one though. But no, I'm kind
That's
of.
why
with
people
you.
came here though, is hard hitting political takes.
They are. Well, it was just funny, and I was trying to figure out if he was trolling or if he thought this was a good idea, because he starts off the video. I'm not going to find it. He starts off the video by saying, like something about, I am the greatest president ever, better than Lincoln, and that's clearly a joke.
Is it though?
It's a joke.
Know. It's hard, like the guy has no.
It's a joke. It's gotta be a joke.
I would hope it was a joke. I would hope it's a joke. I mean, here's the thing about him. He says stuff he knows is going to piss people off because, like we were talking at the very beginning of the podcast or the live stream, clickbait, because he knows people will see that. And they'll be like, what? He said what? And then it'll just... Any publicity is good publicity, right? I mean, the guy is...
He's a master at whatever he does.
Yeah, he's good, and, he's made money. Personally, on a personal level, I think he had some great policies. I think he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, I don't know. I'm kind of with Humpty Dumpty. I don't know if we need to find it.
You don't need to find it, but it was hilarious, and it was just so if it wasn't meant to be a joke, it's so out of touch with reality, and that's why I wanted to show it. But I saw a hot take today from another political commentator that I follow, and he said that he believed this was actually Trump almost intentionally sabotaging himself so he can bow out and give all of his support to another candidate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The guy who said it is very smart.
I don't want to shit on anybody as far as their political stuff goes, and I think we're better probably talking about police stuff than political. I mean, the same thing we were talking about the gay officers. We all have our different opinions, right? But we can all sit here and get along and have a rational conversation about things. If somebody tells me they like Trump or they don't like Trump, I don't automatically assume things about him, kind of thing. I like that Trump had balls; he didn't fall off his bike. That is true. But where is the?
The only reason I started looking for it is because you were talking about doing things that were absurd and get us controversial.
Well, that was a joke, but then, but the political stuff, I wanted to touch on that. I was really into that stuff, and I paid a lot of attention for a long time, and then I just stopped because I was like, this is too much, man. The CNN, Fox News, it's nonstop, and it's so time consuming, and I totally understand that it's important, right? You need to be well informed, but I think honestly the people that are supposed to be informing us are doing a really dog shit job of it, and it's all completely totally fucking biased. I mean, the hot takes about everything, it's like sports is ruined, right? Because
Sports
there's
are
like
ruined for sure.
every single show is hot takes, right? Like, shut the fuck up. You like half these guys never played. Some of them did, but it's like, God, I don't need to watch like a 4-hour video on a 2-hour game. And I think politics has kind of done that, is where people start saying things and it spins things up that maybe weren't even there. So I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got more thoughts, but I don't even want to share just because it's not our purpose here. It's frustrating. Oh, hey. Let's see. Yeah, I feel strongly about that. The country is so incredibly divided right now, and it's like the politicians are only doing more to divide the country because that's what gets people motivated. It's like I'm part of the army that's fighting the enemy type of thing, and the enemy is the rest of America. That is not the winning philosophy. Like, you might win an election, but you are not really winning in the end. And
you're winning the battle and you're not winning the war.
Yeah. And that's something that's happening a lot in like local politics with a lot of police departments. It's affecting us. Some of the freaking political games that are being played it's killing people. It's really sad. Yeah. And that needs to stop. And I don't know when the swing is going to happen, but it's got to swing back. So,
yeah, I hope so at some point people realize, like, we're all going to have our little differences on how we perceive the world, right, and the way we want to see things done. Like, but at some point we have to realize, like, we all live here. We all should have some common goals, like to sit down and listen to each other. But both sides are totally guilty of playing this division.
Well, there's extremes on both sides that are,
and unfortunately that's the loudest part. I think most people, us and most of the people in the chat here, I would assume, we're just normal people, right? Like, we may lean away, but we're just normal people. And like, but unfortunately, the loudest, the empty can rattles the most, right? I love to say that. That's what we're getting right now.
Well, and it's causing a lot of people to believe, I don't want to say extremism type things, but it's the extremists, it's the people on the extreme left and right that are being the loudest, and they're pulling people out of the middle, I think is a more accurate way to say it. They're not making more people extremists, but they're pulling people out of the middle. They're making people less sensible. And I mean, this might be the topic for the end of the night, but I released that video yesterday where I talked about not letting these morons control the narrative, and that you have to speak out. I feel strongly about that, and that's the reason that I do everything that I do. That's the reason I started the body camera channel. I started this channel because I wasn't hitting hard enough with the other channel, so I wanted to do this, show my face, be like, look, I'm not afraid to stand up here, tell you who I am, tell you what I think. This is the right thing. I will forcefully combat the false narrative that's out there. And while making that video, I had a comment that was like very detailed, because I was wearing a shirt that said "shall not be infringed," and he was like, "You already know." He's like,
comment, but I know where it's going.
They do it all the fucking time. It's like, well, how can you support the Second Amendment and still be a police officer, because you are literally infringing on people's rights and blah, blah, blah. Like, give it a fucking break. Like, we are not brown shirts out here smashing Jewish bakery windows, like, stop it. Just be reasonable for a second, and like, I don't know, that you're not allowed to be reasonable anymore. And there's like a lot of, not to bring up Trump again, but there's a lot of people who, they like worship the Trump side. And like you said, and I'll say it, when he was president, there was a lot of things that he did that I support. I think he had a lot of positive impact, not politically, but legislatively on the country and policy wise. But there's a lot of things that he does that I don't support. If I make a comment that's critical of anything that he does, people are like, "You're a fucking traitor. You're an oath breaker." Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it's like, no, like I'm a reasonable person. Like I've done more to support my oath than these people ever have, you know? So I don't know.
Real quick, I'll plug my podcast in a second, Blue Bear. But I made a meme about Trump pardoned some guy that was involved in a killing of a cop. And I made a meme about that, and I was frustrated about that. And all of these people were like, well, you know, he wasn't really involved and he was just a driver. And I'm like, it's because Trump did it. Like people, and it's like, just think objectively about it. Like, yes, I think he did a lot of great things. And I think some of the shit he does is fucking hilarious, right? But I can still think that he's a dumbass in some regards too, right? Like, it's not all or nothing. And I hate that everything in politics right now is all or nothing. All or nothing, right? Like, there's some people, if Biden somehow cured cancer, people are like, nope, fuck Biden, right?
Well, he won't kill cancer.
No, I'm just using that as right? Like, I'm not taking that because Biden, you know, I'd rather die of cancer than use a drug.
Yeah.
By Biden. I'm just using that as an extreme example. Like, I don't like Joe Biden either.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's just like, calm down. Like, we're all on the same fucking team. And I think people forget that. And that's what's kind of upsetting to me is like, instead of like working through our problems as a country, as a community, we just we fight each other over it, which there's a time to fight, right? Like, I'm not saying there's not a time to fight. I firmly believe there's a time to fight, but I don't know that we're there yet. I think we should be having a conversation about things, right? And there's no conversation. There's just yelling at each other. No one sits down to have a decent conversation about thoughts and opinions and things like that.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of logical leaps being made and accusations because of it. Like, oh, it's like a if this, then that type of thing that's going on. And there's no real connection between the if and the that. Like, I try not to say something that's like too, oh, here's one. It's like, if you believe that there should be any, regulations on who gets food stamps, then you are against the poor. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah.
Maybe some common sense regulation might be appropriate here, you know. And I specifically avoided all the what's the dancing, what's the people that are doing the story time for the kids. I was like, I'm avoiding that. I'm avoiding abortion, all that. Like, let's talk about something that's just regular common sense here, you know? Like, maybe there's some fraud in the food stamp program. Maybe we should investigate that. But if you mention that, oh my God, you hate single mothers. No, like, you're making a leap that doesn't exist. And then you're saying, well, so if you hate single mothers, then you're an evil person. So if you think that we need to add any regulations to the food stamp program, then you're evil, you know? And it's like, people are making this leap, and it's nuts, and it drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse every single year. I don't know. I mean, like, you know, I think we forget about how bad it was during at least my memory of Bush 2, right? To me, that's when a lot of that stuff really started. But I mean, like, political pundits have been around forever. So I'm basing it on my memory when I, you know, started voting and stuff like that. But, you know, I remember working some of my first jobs, listening to talk radio all night and getting fucking all riled up about shit they were talking about. I mean, let's be fair here, guys. People can just, and us too, right? So you have to take everything with a grain of salt. People can just fucking say whatever the fuck they want. It's not always gospel, you know, and take that into mind.
Yeah. Well, and it's perfectly okay with agreeing with something that somebody says on one subject and then disagreeing with them on another subject. Like, just the fact that they say something that you disagree with makes you hate that person. You're missing out on a lot of opportunities in this world. And that's kind of where we're at right now. It's insane. And then you get I don't know, there's a lot of gaslighting and straw manning going on right now that are giving the politicians power. And I don't know, we can ramble about this.
We could. Yeah. I was going to say real quick, like I have some friends that are like, I lean to the right. And, right. And I have some friends that are fairly liberal, a couple, and I almost think like they're like kind of the polar opposites of me and my wife, but they're like our best friends, right? And we've had great times with them, but it's because we can talk about what we think about and have an honest conversation, and no one's going to get upset about it. You know, I might disagree with what they're talking about, but if you stop and listen, we all kind of want the same things for the most part, except for the fringe, like not the fringe, but we all kind of want the same things. But when you just sit down and have a conversation with people, like I told a story in a podcast about, there was a guy I used to work with that was very hardcore Democrat. He made a friend. He had no idea it was a Republican. Once he found out they were a Republican, he was a little hesitant. And it's like, dude, you've been a friend with them for 6 months. You found out they voted differently, and now you're not going to be their friend? That's what's destroying this country. Like, we're all allowed to have a political identity and think certain things. And again, there's a time to fight. But I think we're making some pretty gigantic leaps.
Yeah. And it's a really frustrating time to be a police officer as well, because we have both sides demanding control of how we do our job. And we're sitting here trying to just enforce the law and take care of the public, you know? And there's a lot of things being bantered about us, and accusations made about us, and we're just sitting there trying to just simply enforce the law, promote peace in the community, you know. And I was trying to avoid the topic because it's something that we'll discuss. I think either I'll make a video on my own, or we might talk about it on the live stream sometime. But there was this there was a protest and a counter protest in Columbus, Ohio recently, where it was like a drag queen story time for children, and the Proud Boys showed up, and they were going to do a counter protest. And there was a lot of accusations about what the police did, what the police didn't do. But I can tell you one thing that didn't happen was violence. There was no violence that happened that day. And there were some pictures taken of police officers that were negotiating with the people on the other side of the street that were the Proud Boys, and they were shaking their hands, giving them high fives, giving them fist bumps, saying, hey, you know what, we have an understanding. If you stay on this side of the street, you don't commit any acts of violence, you guys can stand here and you can exercise your First Amendment right all day long. We will not stop you. And that brought on a fist bump or a handshake or a high five. There were people saying, oh, look, the police officers are out there high-fiving these people. That means that they stand with them. They're white supremacist Proud Boys, blah, blah, blah. Well, what were those people saying when police officers and commanders and all this other stuff were walking hand in hand down the main streets of our cities with Black Lives Matter protesters? You know, the police officers are there just to prevent the violence from occurring. And if they have to play nice with somebody, they have to play nice with somebody that they don't like. Sometimes it might be the protesters on the right. Sometimes it might be the protesters on the left. I see it in my body camera videos a lot too, where they're like, oh, that guy was a dirtbag, a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. Why were the officers being so nice to him? Because sometimes being nice to somebody is the best way to get something done. And I don't know if I've ever told.
An example of that?
Can I give my example?
Sorry.
Like Tom, you're distracting my story. Thank you very much.
Holy crap. Thank you, buddy.
But like, I had a situation, I'm going to make a whole video about this story, but I had a guy that was like suicidal with a gun and intoxicated, highly intoxicated. And the first officers on scene ended up, they grabbed him, threw him to the ground, ripped the gun out of his hand and all this other stuff. And then he's cussing at him, refusing to give his info. They're like, fine, we'll get your info from your wife. And then it turns out he wasn't allowed to possess firearms. So they were going to charge him with weapons under disability, which in the state of Ohio is when you're a felon and you're in possession of a gun, whatever. Like, we don't need your cooperation. We're just going to take you to jail anyway. You can shut the fuck up and get in the back of a car. So I went over to talk to him, and he was sitting in the rear passenger side of the vehicle. I opened up the rear driver's side of the vehicle, and I opened up the door. I put my foot on the seat, and I kind of leaned in on my knee, and I leaned into the car. I said, "Hey, man, my name's Ben. I want to talk to you about what happened tonight. Can you tell me what happened?" And initially, he's like, "No, I'm not telling you anything, blah, blah, blah." At the end of the day, I got him to admit that he was raping his 16-year-old daughter. I did that, and the moment that I realized what was going on, to say that I was disgusted is probably the understatement of the century. But once I got him talking, I had to continue to get him I had to keep him talking. And I got him to elaborate on what happened, and I got him to tell me the entire story on, I believe it was before body cameras. I think it was recorded on the cruiser camera in the back of the car. Then I was able to go to this girl's mother and ask her about it, and the girl herself, and confirmed all the information that I just got. He is not somebody that I want to be associated with. He's not someone that's going to be my friend. He's not someone that I'm ever going to speak to again in a positive way. I can tell you, I was incredibly nice to him that night. But by doing so, I accomplished a very good thing. So when you see police officers being nice to one side or the other that you don't like, you need to realize that their job isn't to support your belief system. Our job is to enforce the law and support peace in the public. And I really don't think people understand how that really works and how it should work. So there's my story about that topic.
Oh, I can't beat that story. But it is along the same lines. It was something that I learned in the academy, and it really stuck with me rather. The training sergeant, who we were pretty sure that day he was going to come in and fucking whoop our asses. He sat down and he had a conversation with us. Did not whoop our asses, I don't think, that day. But he was talking about sometimes when you're on these calls and people are talking, you just got to let them talk. You got to be nice as much as you don't want to be. And he gave a similar example of a sexual predator, right? It's like, I wanted to fucking kill this guy, but I had to say things I wouldn't normally say because I needed to get this information for the protection and the conviction, so this guy never hurts anybody ever again, kind of thing. And that people just don't. People want like the police to be human, right? And they want police to not be robots, but there's that aspect of it too. But you don't want the Proud Boys to cause a problem, right? So the cops are preventing that problem, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's probably pictures of cops over there on that side, or maybe there's not pictures, but cops over that side talking to them, being friendly with them, like, hey, these are the expectations. This is, how we're going to do things, and talking with them too. It's, again, taking these giant fucking leaps because of, it's like confirmation bias almost in a weird way, if that makes sense. Like, I want to confirm that the cops or I want people to believe, gaslighting, whatever you want to call it. Oh, these police are after us. Police hate gays. Police hate whatever. It's not our job. Like, our job isn't to get, you have a right to do what you're going to do. They have a right to protest, right? Like, all of these protests last year, where they burnt down cities and stuff, the cops were there to keep people safe, right? To protect property, to protect other people, to protect them.
Yeah.
And that is missed.
When you say that the police, one of the police's jobs is to protect property, people get triggered by that. But you guarantee that if somebody was at their house trying to burn it down, they would demand that the police show up and do something about it.
Would you not want the police to stop somebody from burning down your house?
Yeah.
Or burning down your business?
Well, they don't care about someone else's house. They only care about their own.
Selfish fucking people, man.
Anyway, I promised myself I would not go 3 hours this time.
That's what she said.
I think it's about time to button it up. This is a good one. I enjoyed tonight.
This was good until we started talking about politics, and I got angry.
We have a good crowd though.
We did.
Everyone that's still watching, Lloyd and I really appreciate you. We really do. I can tell you genuinely, I think I speak for both of us. So we both appreciate the opportunity to do this live for you guys. The conversations that we're having right now, if we weren't doing it live for you, we would be having it on the phone. Like, this is a legitimate, this is us hanging out. Yeah, even though we're not best friends, we're close to best friends. He's on the list. He's cracking the top 10.
Am I in your top 6 if we were on MySpace?
I don't think I have 6 friends.
Okay, well then I'm in your top 6.
By default, you are. But no, you guys are, you're giving us an opportunity to kind of have this conversation out in public, which I think is a good thing. I think that it, I don't know. I think that genuine conversations that police officers have with each other when we argue with each other and we feel our way through these things, these are the type of things that aren't necessarily out in the public that much. And it's what I've been trying to communicate forever. So I really appreciate you guys giving us this opportunity. No, we don't. That's you should see the group chat, Brent.
We can't even talk about the group chat. We're going to jail for the group.
Yeah. But anyway, Nikki,
thank you.
Thank you again. But also, thank you for reminding me, because that was the point I got started on. We're going to shut it down for the rest of the year. I'm shutting down both my YouTube accounts for the rest of the year. I'm going to do my best to not look at the comments and reply to everything. So if I'm not replying to stuff, don't get mad at me. But we'll see. Lenny and I will talk about when we're going to start this back up again, and we'll let you know. But I hope everybody that celebrates Christmas has a lovely Christmas. Take some time to appreciate what you have. Even if you don't think you have anything, you probably have more than you think. If you're able to watch this live stream, you have a lot more than you think. Just take a moment to appreciate that. I really thank you guys. Do you have anything else, Lenny, before we close it?
Can I plug my stuff? I feel like I'm ruining your moment by plugging my stuff.
You're not.
So now Ben's taking a little break here. You can check out my my podcast. I don't have it up on YouTube. I don't have time to do it right now. I probably will start next year, start putting my podcast on YouTube if you guys want to check it out there. Poorly Made Police podcast. It's on anywhere you can listen to podcasts for the most part, I think. Just check it out. You just Google it, it'll come up. But Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. Google Podcasts. You're actually on one, but I'm kind of scared to promote it because we said some awful things.
Which one?
If you go on Christmas time, on Christmas, he's on a very special Poorly Made Police podcast. But all my podcasts are pretty much done. I've got them all pre-recorded for the next 3-4 weeks. So I put them out Sundays and Thursdays. So if you guys want to check those out, and Ben's on them every so often.
Probably once a month at minimum.
Yeah, seems like it. Yeah. And then we got to remember to do the Derby thing because I'll forget. We might need to put that in the calendar.
Yeah. We want to just confirm it. Next live stream is going to be what's his first name? Ben Darby?
Ben Darby, I believe. And I would say as long as it's good with you, I should be able to do January 5th, unless I'm like physically on an airplane. But we could probably make January 5th tentatively be the date of the next one.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
January 5th.
So
we're only taking 2 weeks off.
Yeah, it's not long.
No. That's what she said. All right. We're rambling. We love you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, really, everyone that gave super chats tonight. I can't thank you enough.
Guys, seriously.
That's a really cool thing that it gives us the opportunity to do this stuff. So thank you very much. My kids are going to enjoy the fruits of your guys' labors and your donations. So thank you very much, guys. For the rest of the year, we'll see you next year. I hate when people say that. All right. Peace.
See you.